Hi, welcome to YouTube, a place where you can broadcast yourself. Since 2005, we've made it our goal to be your platform of creative output. Not only have we shaped the entertainment landscape to once inconceivable bounds which wouldn't have been possible without our millions and millions of creators pushing the boundaries of creativity every day, and the best of the best of the best creators are allowed to control their fate, making the living they dreamed of, create their own legacies, become beloved superstars to millions. Creators like you. We are the makers of dreamers, the treasure of pathfinders, the current youth inspirers, the dawn of burning fires, and there's one piece of advice given to everyone that comes through the pearly gates of YouTube. Give up while you still can. Listen, this place becomes increasingly optimized every single day. It's easier than ever to become a creator, but the caliber of talent increases every waking day to the point it seems like channels just pop up and immediately become professionals. But those channels took years and years of experience to beat the one thing everyone fears, the YouTube algorithm. A cold machine that cannot be contained. If anything, it contains you. What was once a platform to upload anything and everything to be yourself is gone. And all you can do is behave towards the standards gradually being put in place day after day. Your intros have to be snappy, your presence enthusiastic, your voice not annoying, and if you don't want to abide by its laws, then someone will happily take your place and receive the attention you've always desired. You just wanted to be impactful, and you showed that you're not, so give up. Watch the people you were already watching gradually crumble over the rapid change, and even then we'll probably all be replaced by AI. So, make it easier for yourself. Give up, but don't just take my word for it.
I tell people to quit. That's what I do when they ask me now. I used to try and give them a whole bunch of motivational speech, and now I just tell them, no, I mean, the odds are stacked against you and you probably won't make anything happen ever. How's it going, boys? My name is Schlatt. How's it going, boys? My name is Schlatt. 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 My name is Schlatt.
Make all my money in 3-4 years.
I fell into line of making very easy, algorithm-friendly videos.
Why do I sit in your Twitch channel?
They're not good, and I'm not proud of them. But I am proud that
Hey, who woke me up? Was it you?
Schlatt is a YouTuber I'm obsessed with. I wouldn't necessarily say he's one of my favorite YouTubers, but ever since I found him 5 years ago through an event hosted by Killer Keem, star of Drama Alert fame called Minecraft Mondays, I've followed him ever since. He was part of an emerging renaissance of Minecraft YouTubers kickstarted by a video he made a year prior, and he quickly stood out from the rest of his peers by being someone who had a lot of ambition. Every moment eyes were averted to him, it seemed like he tried to make a moment as entertaining as he possibly could, making bits that would quickly become inside jokes, like using his passion for lackluster technology as a comedic vessel. I wasn't exactly a fan of him in the traditional sense, but I had a fondness in the hunger for success this guy had. It was a hunger that I could relate to in a way, and ever since that moment in the middle of 2019, I've been following him since. Now, note I said follow and not subscribe. I have never been subscribed to Schlatt. In fact, my recommendations are turned off or else I would get nothing done. So every time I want to watch something from Schlatt, I will manually look up his name on my computer, go to his channel, click on the most recent video, and watch it on my own will, which I'm not sure if that's worse than just straight up stalking him. But throughout spending effectively a quarter of my life observing this guy, I can effectively say that I think a lot about him, not exactly in a parasocial kind of way. I'm not eating dinner with this guy, I don't even know what we talk about, but I think a lot about him in the same way an anthropologist thinks about indigenous societies. I've been following Schlatt for a while. I say I found him in 2019, but the truth is that I found him a year earlier unknowingly. I watched a video from him called My Channel Was Terminated. In this video, he talks about an incident on YouTube where despite having no strikes or even any warnings, his channel was suddenly deleted, and he had to contact support on Twitter in order to get his channel back. And the result was that he got a pretty viral video out of the whole debacle. Mind you, if he tried to contact YouTube through YouTube, he would likely still be deleted to this day. He had to go to Team YouTube, which nowadays functions as a sort of middleman between YouTube and people who want to complain to YouTube. And this is what Schlatt had to go to in order to get his channel effectively reinstated, and the rest is history. But Schlatt was clearly shaken by this incident, even mentioning it years after it happened. It seemed the moment Schlatt checked his YouTube channel and saw that it had evaporated out of thin air, it ingrained something in him. Remember, all of this can be taken away at any second. In hindsight, it's kind of ironic. Only a little over a year later, he would upload his last video on the schlatt channel. The channel he fought so hard to keep that just merely exist would become an archive. The channel he started dedicating the most energy to was his gaming channel, schlatt Live, where within months of existing, he would pass his original channel in subscribers. This wasn't just an opportunity anymore, it became livelihood. So now we're here. 4.3 million subscribers. Did you have fun? Did you enjoy this journey through schlatt? Did you enjoy the part where I didn't mention his 15 other channels, 8 of which are active? And those are only the channels I know about. What about his controversies? The drama he's been involved with, the friends he lost, the fan base he's created only to hate them. Not to mention the careers he's seen get taken down at a whim while he's tried his hardest to stay afloat. Jesus, it's no wonder why he wants you to give up. Well, anyways, here's the story of someone who got everything they ever wanted.
There's no real method to this because, like, I got a 9 to 5. I'm doing other things. I'm not even planning on doing this full time ever. Like, I've just been watching all the.
I want to go back to the very beginning, before schlatt was even a thing. I want to talk about who schlatt is within the context of YouTube. Based off what little resource I could find, the internet states that schlatt was born on September 10th, 1999. And based off what research I did, the dates at least line up. I bring this up because of another date, February 14th, 2005, the day YouTube was created. A video hosting platform that to this day does just that. Host videos. But when YouTube started out, it was unprecedented to a lot of people that you could share videos to anyone over the internet, and to people who knew how to share videos online, it was never to this scale.
0.5.
They have a built-in player?
Yes, they have a built-in player, so we'll click on this, and then so it actually plays right on YouTube. So you don't actually have to go and, download it.
And the first people to upload onto YouTube never really had the context of YouTube in mind when making videos. So with that, the first videos that got really popular on this platform were seemingly random. Some baby biting a toddler's finger? Sure. Some guy dancing? Quirky. A song about racial injustice against African Americans? Well, the song had a funny name. But underneath all of these seemingly overnight sensations that would be put on television the next day for having an indescribable magic, there were nerds. Some nerds were film students that would upload their student films onto YouTube. And YouTube was a pretty good creative outlet to do what they wanted. And some people saw what those film students were doing and they wanted to do stuff just like that. Although they didn't have the experience of a camera, they still, managed to make something pretty neat. Not all of them would make films exactly. Some would do what I'm doing right now, just put a camera down and start talking in front of it, with a lot less editing, of course.
For information on other things, if you guys want to talk about politics, news, getting stoned, women, sex.
Among one of those inexperienced filmmakers who had absolutely no idea what they were doing and couldn't create anything other than absolute garbage was an 11-year-old that wasn't named schlatt yet, but for this case I'm going to just call him Schlatt. Schlatt started making videos. He watched YouTubers like Freddie Wong and Corridor Digital, who were slick VFX artists that showed off their talents onto YouTube, and Schlatt wanted to be just like that. He got his friends, picked up a camera, and started recording footage of a finger gunfight. Then he would go into an editing software and edit some muzzle flashes over his hands. Even before that, he would go record gameplay footage of him hacking Mario Kart Wii by recording his camera at the TV and wreak havoc on anyone in his path. He hacked Mario Kart Wii at 11? I think anyone who was 11 years old after YouTube was made sort of had a channel like this. I had videos all the way back from when I was 11, and even compared to 11-year-old Schlatt, I mean, this kid was able to figure out a way to edit muzzle flashes over his fingers while 11-year-old me struggled to find a way to record my Minecraft ripoffs on a Toshiba laptop. And to this day, I'm deathly afraid to open this thing. For some reason, one day, the screws in this laptop just started falling out randomly. I don't know how it managed to do that, but because of that, there is a significant error in the hardware of this thing, and to this day, I'm deathly afraid to even try to open this thing. Well, it doesn't seem to fold evenly anymore. Oh my gosh, little piece of plastic just fell out of it. Aw, so cute. Eventually, for one reason or another, the channel was abandoned, forgotten, lost to time, whatever happened. A new channel came, and its name was schlatt. There's a considerable gap between the 11-year-old that made finger gun bang bang videos and the 14-year-old that uploaded his first video on the schlatt channel where he feeds his bearded dragon. Only one could imagine what he was doing at the time. School, baseball team, getting a job at the deli, anything goes. But coming a little bit later, you see Schlatt's passion for not just videos, but editing come into fruition. Videos started being uploaded, inspired by the current trends at the time, like MLG edits. What makes these videos particularly interesting are what he chooses to make MLG edits for. The first edit he would upload on his channel is MLG Mario Kart, which doesn't really raise any red flags. It's a popular game with a popular trend at the time. But then just a couple videos later, he would make something called MLG Roller Coaster Tycoon, and you have to ask yourself, who is this made for? I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's so interesting to see such a contradictory subject matter between something contemporary like MLG edits and a video game that was made in 2002. To give an idea of what kind of audience Roller Coaster Tycoon has, this is a 5-hour gameplay of unedited Roller Coaster Tycoon footage without any commentary that was uploaded 3 years ago. And it has more views than Schlatt's MLG Roller Coaster Tycoon video. What's also missing on this current timeline are the plethora of unlisted and privated schlatt videos that you cannot find on his channel, at least in its current form. These videos don't have the similar sheen that you might see from the channel in its current state, but these videos have a lot more depth into getting an idea of who Schlatt was at the time. These range from Q&A videos that were physically taken out of an envelope and read out loud, reminiscent of a web series called Machinima Inbox hosted by APL Fisher and Mr. Sark, whom Schlatt was greatly inspired by. Call of Duty commentary videos where he would react to videos of a humorous nature that he would make fun of, very similar to what many YouTubers were doing at the time. This series even had a name. What the fuck, internet? There's also unedited Call of Duty videos where he would take away all the fast-paced editing and talk with uninterrupted gameplay. This style of content came from another source of inspiration of channels he would watch growing up, like Woody's Gamertag and C Nanos, who were prominent Call of Duty channels back in the day. And also introspective video essays commentating on his older videos, his growth as a creator, and the state of not only his channel, but of YouTube. Mind you, these are the only videos I could find. Beneath all that are even more videos that will never revisit the light of day and are sealed tight within the confines of his channel. Most of these videos had one goal in mind: to win over the YouTube algorithm and have his dream job. But there is this fear he mentions in a video called The Wrong Era for YouTube. This is one of those videos where he had unedited Call of Duty gameplay footage where he was playing zombies, and in this video he talks about his fear for YouTube, but really it's more about a fear he has within himself and the future of his life, where he fears that amidst all of the algorithm, it seems that it's harder for smaller YouTubers like himself to really come out of the woodworks and become the YouTubers he has always aspired to be.
No one needs any more content. I mean, that's the main thing. Like, no one needs to search anymore because the algorithm of YouTube automatically suggests that, because it's thinking, hey, 18 million people have already subscribed to this dude. Why not send another person their way? So it wasn't the same in 2010 YouTube, and I was there.
And I think it's a very accessible concern that everyone has at some point if they're trying to be a YouTuber. He basically says, I want to be like these people I always watched, but they're still making what I watch, so what's even the point? Why make what you're inspired by if they're still making it? They already have the platform, the subscribers, the audience, the skills, everything you don't have. So why should you even try? It's uncertain, but sometimes people just keep going, even if it means they don't know what they're doing. As he continued to grow as a creator, he swam out of the sinking ship that was MLG and gameplay commentary reacting to cringe videos, and he led himself to something that had greener pastures. Aside from the trends Schlatt was chasing in pursuit of YouTube fame, 2016 to 2017 saw the rise of video essays becoming a much more mainline form of content on YouTube. Schlatt saw this, he got inspired, and he started making video essays along with the meme videos he was still creating. There were video essays about seemingly random things, with the only thing in common being that they were topics Schlatt was interested in. From talking about the vastness of space to mechanical keyboards, Black Mirror, a multiple-part series on OK Computer that was never completed. It was very much a creatively fruitful time for Schlatt to talk about anything and everything. The videos might seem a little unfocused, none of these clocked in at over 6 minutes. But this was clearly a very creatively fulfilling time for Schlatt. His editing was cleaner, his voice voiceover was more pronounced, he was becoming presentable to a wider amount of people, and it was showing in his work. He was still making smaller short-form meme videos, one of which still being his most popular video to date across all of his channels. But this was it. It seemed like people were finally interested in Schlatt. He wasn't getting the most amount of subscribers, but it seemed like he was finally making something that was fulfilling not just to him, but inspiring to other people. Oh, it's gone. Everything I did has just vanished. My channel is gone. The video YouTube deleted my channel is much more of a spectacle now compared to the underdog at constant fear of YouTube it was at the time. But it was funnily enough my first schlatt video. Without even realizing it. I didn't really pay attention to who the channel was when I first watched it, but it brings up a lot of questionability about the stability of this platform. If your channel can be randomly deleted like that, then who knows what else you can't predict. I mean, Schlatt just had a video that was starting to get momentum where he played OpenTTD. I had never heard of this game, but it at least showed that what he was doing was finally starting to work. But now it didn't really matter anymore, did it? It might not seem like that big of a deal when you look at the video. schlatt only had 3,000 subscribers. In comparison now, that's less than 1,000th of what he has. But when you put it on a timeline, that was 5 years of work just snapped out of existence, especially for a guy whose existence was just making videos. This is hundreds, if not thousands of hours of work just to be wiped away. But the video where he said his channel was deleted was still ultimately uploaded on his channel, and he still kept making videos. Despite the dreading tone, this video is ultimately the result of someone who is able to take everything they were inspired by and fully realize it into a style they could call their own. Even then though, that thought still remains in the back of Schlatt's head. Remember, all of this can be taken away. But Schlatt had other channels. It wasn't by any means a clean backup, but he at least had things to fall back on. For example, he recently started a new project called The Weekly Slap, where he dedicated a channel from those videos he made of unedited Call of Duty commentary, but now it was its own vessel that he used to vent out his thoughts, ideas, feelings. Maybe it was to take his mind off his channel being deleted, to take his mind off the constant algorithmic battle of the main channel. In a way, The Weekly Slap was an ideological reaffirming towards the ethos of his main channel. It was a shitty commentary that was used to talk or rant about whatever he felt, which was a stark contrast from the high-effort edited videos that he was making and getting a lot more rewarded for, because he made videos just like this on schlatt, but they sucked. They no longer represented the channel. They're gone. But he made a separate channel just for that kid that still wanted to be a Call of Duty commentator that he always watched growing up. Unedited gameplay where he could talk about whatever he wanted to, because he was fulfilled making these video essays. When he sat down at a computer, it was to spend hours painstakingly chipping away at what he was passionate towards. And occasionally he would stream, notably games like DayZ or maybe even OpenTTD. But maybe every once in a while he could drop a Call of Duty commentary on the secret channel. And you know what? It's a good thing he kept at what he was doing, because there was one fateful upload that would change the direction of Schlatt's channel forever. A Tribute to Minecraft is a video made by an 18-year-old that felt nostalgia towards a former time in his life that he was soon leaving. That's what it's about. It talks about a game he grew up with, grew out of, and then grew a new appreciation for. And tributes they're nothing new. Nothing new to YouTube, but Schlatt managed to not just capture his feelings for the game, he managed to capture something larger. Schlatt is the first generation of a certain breed of YouTuber. What I mean by that is there's eras in YouTube. There's a certain amount of time that defines a certain part of YouTube's culture. And people who are uploading videos around that time are part of that era or generation. And the first generation of YouTubers were people uploading homemade films to show to a group of friends. It meant that YouTube wasn't the source of inspiration as much as it was a place to share what you had created.
I just shit farted myself. Sharded.
I think it's absolutely disgusting.
The videos people were making were getting a lot of attention, and it caused people to be inspired and want to make their own videos, hence a second generation of what I would consider the first generation of YouTubers, really. These were the people that were able to consistently upload content within the context of YouTube videos, something that couldn't have really been made anywhere else and for any other reason. This was also around the time people started to make a living off of it, and the type of YouTubers to emerge came in many different forms. There were people like Tomska and Freddie Wong that specialized in short skits with a lot of effects. Gaming videos came into full effect with the rise of Let's Players. These guys were a lot more down to earth and had a much more personal connection to the viewers. And video essayists that you might know nowadays had their roots in people like Game Theory or Vsauce. Literally anything and everything else in between was being created. I didn't even mention vlogs. YouTube was exploding, but a lot of these people, although operating within the context of YouTube, still grew up in a time where YouTube wasn't a thing. They're kind of old, I know. Schlatt and I, although we were born before YouTube, we grew up within the context of YouTube. We are the first generation of YouTubers that grew up watching YouTube. We were people that would go home after school to watch our favorite YouTubers play Minecraft or watch Machinima Inbox, where all of Sark's jokes would fly over your adolescent head. And when I talked to someone about this, about the generations of YouTubers, the person told me, dude, that's what Matt Pett from Game Theory said.
Gen 1 was the era of the viral video.
Yes. The cat video.
Yeah, this was your keyboard cats. This was Tazon Day Chocolate Rain.
And even though it kind of made me feel a little bit like an idiot, it does speak to my generation of YouTube. We're constantly growing smarter about this platform to the point that we theorize about this platform day and night, consuming everything in our path and creating a new meta of YouTube every single day. That this theory about YouTube generations was being brainstormed by people in their late 20s, early 30s. These things took years for people to recognize, and now that same theory was being reached to by a 20-year-old on accident. Well, I was 20 when I wrote that, so. And if you think that's all, well, it's not. Guess who also knew about this whole YouTube generations thing?
I'm the first generation of YouTubers who grew up consuming YouTube first and foremost.
Because you were
24. I was growing up watching.
You were 6 when YouTube was released.
Yes, I was.
He's aware that people before him did not grow up watching YouTube like he did. At this point, I think I'm just slow and everyone already knows about these things except me. I still believe I'm smart. You're looking at AB Honor Roll, 4th grade here. But Schlatt is part of that generation. Source, literally himself. But by absorbing all of these creators, Schlatt was able to become the amalgamation of everything he enjoyed. He became a much more refined internet personality at a much younger age compared to the people he watched, especially Mr. Sark. I'm sorry, Mr. Sark. I know you're old. I'm calling you old. There's nothing else to this. I'm just calling you old. I'm sorry. But you know what? I can be juvenile. I can fart into the mic to make myself look like a stupid youngster. That's gonna be a shit. His expertise in video making surpassed any Call of Duty commentator. He thought about the platform differently within the context that you could be popular and make a living. But it was still an equal opportunity to be important in the eyes of others and make important stuff. At the end of the day, YouTube didn't have monetary incentive and it still got popular, and it was because people had eyes on them. And when people have eyes on you, that's your opportunity to be the change you want to see in the world. Schlatt was starting to make serious videos that left you with a perspective that you wouldn't have gotten anywhere else, and it was all done within the mind of an 18-year-old. That's right, it's too late for you. Give up. But with that, by the time A Tribute to Minecraft came out, Schlatt had masterminded a video dedicated towards that group of people who grew up watching YouTube. So he was able to simultaneously entertain people who did the same thing that Schlatt did growing up, while showing off his thousands of hours of experience to make an essay where he was able to connect with people who grew up with the same beats of life and getting bored of Minecraft YouTubers that failed to grow up with them, people who craved something with a little bit more danger. Maybe instead of laughing at squids in Minecraft, they wanted to laugh at the mentally disabled. But now there was another change coming to these adolescents. Adulthood. This sentiment was embodied in the video. The whole thing was less about Minecraft itself and a lot more about the culture of Minecraft, growing up with it, how my childhood was affected by these people. Yeah, my childhood was affected by this game and I played it with friends, but I was also watching people who played the game, and the game goes beyond the game, and it changed my perception of so many things in life. This video was less about the actual game itself and more like an ode to childhood, giving one last goodbye before looking into the abyss of the unknown, adult life. So, did the video backfire by resurging Minecraft? Not to say Schlatt is single-handedly responsible for bringing this game back from its lowest point of popularity, but Schlatt's career trajectory would change drastically. If A Tribute to Minecraft was a goodbye to his childhood, then the next stage of his career would be dedicated to reviving childhoods, heck, even creating new childhoods. And Hindsight is 2020, but even then, I don't think anybody expected Minecraft to be as big as it was again. But Schlatt's video was made in 2018, and it would take about another year for the ball to really get rolling in Minecraft. During that time, Schlatt started going to college, and he made some more tribute videos, one for Roller Coaster Tycoon and one for Mario Kart. And if you ask me, I think these videos are a lot more fitting of a format for these types of games compared to MLG. You can hear him at a candid stage of his life on a podcast he did back in 2018 where he talks about his journey on YouTube so far, discussing his creative process on his channel, and to this day, it's probably the most in-depth he's ever been talking about YouTube. If you try to find any videos of Schlatt talking about YouTube now, it's usually with a grain of salt, and it's not with the same energy. He still had less than 100,000 subscribers at this point, and it would still take a while for him to get there. But his channel was healthier than ever, not to mention he still had the weekly slap. He could talk to fans and get closer with them, even making a new series called Inbox to answer fans' questions in the same vein as Woody's gamer tag that he directly name drops multiple times within the series. Speaking of success and momentum, Schlatt was streaming, and you know what? He was getting pretty dang good at it too. This Twitch following would prove to be a very good investment of his time because of what would happen later. Remember that video Schlatt made, a tribute to Minecraft? People saw this, they said, oh my gosh, I actually do love Minecraft, I don't hate it after all. So while the iron was hot, Jay Schlatt was invited to a server called SMP Live, hosted by C-Scoop, real name Cooper, and Call Me Carson, real name Carson. Carson specifically had a gift in getting a group of YouTubers in a room and making some content people wanted to watch. The theming of SMP Live was definitely rooted in an older image of Minecraft, but that simplicity was also what helped make it thrive. There were only a few rules, with the biggest one being that if you were playing, it meant you had to be streaming as well. Hence the name SMP Live. Live streaming, think about it. You know, I was making a joke about that whole pooping thing earlier, but I actually do gotta take a shit now. But with a focus more on teamwork and having fun rather than the meta and optimization of the game, it allowed for personalities to take priority, bits over skill. And Schlatt was invited because he made a tribute to Minecraft, so he was the tribute to Minecraft guy. Put him in the Minecraft server. But what happened next was not expected from a lot of people. I don't think Schlatt was expecting it, but it certainly changed his life forever.
Yo, oh god.
How do you react to someone you grew up with and were inspired by, and now they're like talking to you and shit? I don't know. I've never been put in that situation. I don't want to be put in that situation. This stream, the SMP Live stream, led towards a momentous occasion. The momentum of SMP Live was growing, and it was growing fast. Schlatt himself was receiving a direct benefit because he's just such a funny guy. And March 8th, 2019, it happened. It finally happened. The big one. 6 digits, 100,000 subscribers, getting awarded to one Jay Schlatt. The silver plaque. This man just reached his dreams. And what's his reaction to it? Well, we know what it is on the weekly slap.
Round of applause, boys. Round of applause. We did it. We did it. I did it. I did it. I don't hear you clapping.
In his video, 100,000 subscribers, he basically said it was a long time coming. He has spent half of his life working towards this one thing, and now it's happened. It's no different than yesterday, it's just a larger number.
What? How many subscribers did I have yesterday? 99,000. There's no difference, really. It's been a long process, man. Like this is something I've been working towards since Jesus Christ.
But yeah, 100,000 subscribers, it is larger than 99,000. And maybe you only get the verification badge and the plaque and all this and that. It's a sign. It's a sign that what you're doing is working. It was clearly a shift in what was happening to Schlatt. A moment so momentous and rare that it couldn't just be confined to a lousy stream. He had to make these things into a video. The content was just too good. The material was already right there, and it was so rich. I mean, it's ant venom in your video. But this also allowed Schlatt to further branch out. He was already great at voiceovers, and his speaking skill improved tenfold since his first commentary how many years ago. And he had bits. He had a lot of bits. One of the bits he did showcased him using an old microphone that he had possessed an absurd amount of game with. But that loud microphone was something no one else had, and it was reminiscent of the type of humor that you would see back in MLG edits, but taken with a more satirical angle. The first video to come out of this server on the schlatt channel was the 2019 Minecraft experience, which chronicled the first day of his experience on the server and his experience with someone like Venom, who joined the server later that day. Most of all, there was one bit in his tribute to Minecraft video where he talked about how much he hated Stall. And you know what? Venom loves Stall. So you know what? That created a little tension. A little two men getting a little tense with each. Antics ensue with the climax of this video resulting in Venom getting his Stall disc and gifting it to Schlatt, to which Schlatt promptly jumps off the nearest cliff. And you know what? This is the most prompted I'm gonna be. Yeah, Stall does suck. Fuck you. But there was also a promise that Schlatt and Venom would work together and beat the Ender Dragon. And although this was an entertaining video, it didn't exactly line up with the highly edited videos he had been making. It was a highlight of a live stream he recorded, but the live streams were doing well and people were clearly interested. So you know what? If this is what the people really want, let me make another channel. Let me make another channel of these highlight streams and I can show it to all of these people, alright? I think that'll work well. A month later, he did just that, and the schlatt live channel was born on April 2019, and it's growing so much faster than my main channel. Oh my god. schlatt live, the channel, was by all means a perfect storm. Right place, right time. The video essay he made just a year ago would reignite people's interest in Minecraft, and Call Me Carson's server would invest in this trend. And SMP Live started being a go-to place for people who latched onto the feeling of people just goofing around in the game, similar to how they might do in Minecraft when they were younger. Schlatt himself would play up a character in this server, a sleazy, slimy businessman that focused more on schemes which would incorporate multiple people. And although these bits did make for entertaining videos for the world to see, it really honed in on the idea of what this server was. It was a community. The most iconic bit Schlatt created for this server was a satirical take on cryptocurrency called Schlattcoin. Funnily enough, this bit was defining for the server. He needed a bunch of people to work off of in order for this to work, just like a regular scam. You can see Schlatt reacting to all of this in real time, by the way. The Weekly Slap serves as his first-hand account to everything that has been happening to him around this time. Even then, this newfound attention has been taking up all of his time, away from the weekly thing he managed to do on the other channel. 2 weeks after hitting 100,000 subscribers, he's about to hit 110,000 subscribers, and he can feel the impact from all of this. I mean, it's a lot. Receiving this much attention is a very rare phenomenon very few people experience, let alone at his age. I mean, he's not even old enough to drink at this point. Just to think that not even 6 months ago, there was this substantial risk that went into every upload on his channel. Projects that he would spend months on just to create something that he could even call art. Take a tribute to Mario Kart. Compared to anything else he's done on this channel, it's easily his magnum opus. It's longer than most of his other videos. The amount of detail is so much more dense. Everything about this video is insane. Just to name a few things that went into this video: Schlatt finding archival footage of himself as a kid, capturing gameplay of multiple Mario Karts, smashing a keyboard for this one bit, writing about how much he enjoyed the game, how it changed his life, and having another climatic moment of self-reflection at the end about how a game that shaped a childhood can shape you just as much as an adult. But despite all of this effort, the video ultimately flopped compared to the rest of the videos on his channel. Despite all the work Schlatt put into this, while balancing his college work and a part-time job he was working all at the same time, when something you make that you're this confident about is a flop, it changes your perception of not just you as a creator, but the state of YouTube. Was there anything you could have done to fix this video, or are you just doomed to be constantly ignored just enough by YouTube regardless of the amount of work you put into this platform?
Every fucking second of that video was planned, man. It started with a song from my favorite jazz album. I built a script on top of it to flow well. I recorded footage from a Game Boy Advance emulator, from my Wii U, from my Wii. I had to buy an RC8.
But that's in the past now. You're making videos that are succeeding now. In fact, they're succeeding more than a tribute to Mario Kart ever had. Not to mention, they're easier to make. Just stream for a couple hours, take the best parts of that stream, chop it up into some highlights for the weekend, you're all set. I mean, one of the bits Schlatt has on his channel is that he's this Mexican guy that says what's popping. And people actually think it's him, even though he just made a video last year where I show a childhood video myself and I'm white. Do not get it confused. I made video essays about Black Mirror Mirror and Radiohead, I am a white man, but it's telling you a lot about the audience that's growing by the day. They're starting to not really know who you are. And they don't have to know who you are. They don't have to look at older vids where you might show a hand that's white or just yourself as a kid. It doesn't even matter. They see this one bit on your channel and now they're convinced you can speak Spanish. There is a weight on his shoulders that is growing heavier by the day, and he needs some time to focus on what he wants to do next. Well, there's this video brewing on the main channel right now about Call of Duty. In fact, it's a tribute to Call of Duty, and honestly, I think this game defines schlatt more than Minecraft ever had. But, dude, Minecraft is exploding in popularity. PewDiePie just started his own Minecraft Let's Play, and it has opened the floodgates for people to become invested in this game again. schlatt Live is growing really fast, and is going to pass the main channel at this rate. It just is. It's okay, I'm still working on things for schlatt, but this is my priority now. YouTube is my dream job, and the growth I'm experiencing right now has me sleeping with my eyes open. This is an opportunity that I simply cannot waste. There's still a place for the highly edited, condensed video essays that show more of myself. You know what, maybe even my Radiohead series could continue, and I could make something that has a higher quality than Subterranean Homesick Alien. And I don't know, that there's like the whole DMCA thing, maybe it isn't worth it. And regardless, making those videos right now would be at the cost of the greatest success schlatt has ever achieved. The window of opportunity is too great to give up. Speaking of opportunities, the success from schlatt Live has opened even more doors. Keemstar, of all people, saw Minecraft coming back and is now hosting this event called Minecraft Mondays. The setup is simple. There would be a series of rounds in a battle royale mode based around the Hunger Games. There are 42 players, each in groups of 2. That means 21 teams will be competing for what, you may ask? $10,000, $5,000 to each of the lucky people who do win. The way the winner would be calculated is that Minecraft Monday operated on a point system. There are 2 ways you can get points: kill someone for a surge of 10 points, or survive to passively gain points. Even if schlatt doesn't win Minecraft Mondays, the spoils aren't just limited to money for him. It's safe to say that if schlatt was on the line about what to do regarding his main channel, this was the moment that ultimately tipped the scales as to what he needed to prioritize. He gets to work with dozens and dozens of players. He gets to talk to James Charles. Heck, he gets to talk to other childhood heroes that he grew up with. They didn't even have to be childhood heroes. They could just be other Minecraft YouTubers from parts of different communities that he was unfamiliar with. These were guys that dipped in different waters. They didn't focus on the personality-based content that schlatt and Carson did, which by the way was his teammate for week 1. It's not to say these guys didn't have a personality, but being good at Minecraft took priority. And ultimately, this is a competition, where your name could quickly gain more notoriety to those more unfortunate. Technoblade was an easy victory for the first couple weeks of Minecraft Monday. As for schlatt, well, at least he was having fun. Eventually, Minecraft Monday would diversify the event, replacing a lot of the Hunger Games rounds with mini games while Hunger Games still booked in the events. Despite the event ultimately benefiting his channel, the gameplay was aggressive compared to SMP Live, which was also thriving more than it ever had, and it was a reliable source of entertainment to come back to between Minecraft Monday. But I'm gonna tell you why that doesn't matter, because in week 6, schlatt gets a teammate that isn't Carson. In fact, it's Technoblade. That's right, he teamed up with the guy that won the first 2 weeks. And they fought long and hard this week because it was the only chance schlatt was going to get to win $5,000.
What? What happened?
We win Minecraft Monday!
Oh my god!
Schlatt would only play Minecraft Mondays for 1 more week before stepping down and focusing on other things. Perhaps he was spreading himself thin between all the Minecraft he was playing. Not to mention he wasn't constantly streaming with other people. Sometimes he just wanted to play something on his own. And that was still working unbelievably well for him. Even though some things did better than others, he really couldn't do that much wrong. As of this recording, there are 150 videos on the schlatt Live channel, and I want you to guess how many videos have less than 1 million views. It's 6. Only 6 videos have less than 1 million views, and they're all from like the early days of the channel when he was just trying to get off his feet. And then there's his old channel, which has 11 videos over 1 million views. And yeah, maybe if schlatt kept at it, he could have more than 11 videos over 1 million views, but 144 videos? In the video essay format? And schlatt was making a lot of connections with this new live channel as well. The persona he put on was captivating, being a greedy capitalist that flared up a satirical right-wing edge that included hating Obama and being a devoted Catholic. People wanted to be a part of whatever he had, that it factor, and it created connections he would not have been able to experience otherwise. I mean, geez, he was going to TwitchCon soon, but that was kind of a catch though. Up to this point, schlatt hadn't really done a face reveal. There were smidgens of a face here and there from a split second of a Steam profile being his high school graduation photo and also just him when he was like 5. The thing is though, is that if you're going to a convention like this, you have to have a physical presence. And with a physical presence comes the face. These conventions were made for talking to other people, and if you wanted to do that, well, you had to give up the goods. But he did choose a fitting video for this moment, a video to effectively close out his most important arc on SMP Live, September 26, 2019.
Oh, I'm okay.
Schlatt beating the Ender Dragon with his childhood hero wasn't even the best part. No, here's the real fireworks. The man behind the voice was finally revealed.
This is so stupid. I've been trying to please, I've been trying to film.
What a fucking baby. I bet he can't even grow facial hair. For many, the allure that had been established for Schlatt fans of old and new might have been gone. You really could have any face you wanted to behind the man. Even the guy that was a completely different race could have been Schlatt, and he was convincing too. But it was something that needed to be done, especially if he was going to be a more social creator from here on out. But a face is ultimately part of your identity. In fact, it's the most identifiable part, and it's a part of yourself that you can't remove unless you want to die. Very quickly, there was a loss of control, not just with his face, but in general. The ship he tried so desperately to set sail was getting harder and harder to steal, and this face reveal was a gigantic weight added to all of the success he was receiving. The day before his face was revealed, he had just reached 400,000 subscribers on Schlatt Live. Doing the math, your channel was created in April. It's now September. That means there's been 5 months since your channel was created and you have 400,000 subscribers. I mean, if you do the math, that's almost 1 million subscribers in a year at this rate. A stark contrast to the inching growth he had experienced as a creator for the past 9 years. I mean, realistically, this should have taken 36 years to achieve for him. It's almost as if Schlatt had been working for something completely different all of his life, like as if he were a runner, and day after day he was running. He was going through a training routine that caused himself to be pushed to his limit day after day. The day you get to the race, it turns out you could have just used an electric scooter the whole time. And you know what? A vehicle gets you further in running. You'd be stupid not to take the scooter. It runs on its own unless you want to be miserable. If you have some sort of pride that makes you want to be doing things more difficult, like some sort of fucking Dark Souls fan and do everything the hardest way possible. But, you know, this was the easy way. And this also made me money, unlike playing Dark Souls. Not to mention, Schlatt was getting a lot more love for being on a scooter than he ever got for running. But maybe the scooter was a little too fast for him. I mean, when you become big enough, you receive more fans than you did yesterday, a mutual trait of nature some would even call. Some creators give their audience a name and further increase this connection. But there was this emerging culture of people that felt really close to people they watched. They felt an affection for them that you really didn't see outside of celebrity culture. It was seeping into YouTube though, and it's not something most people can handle. Some of these fans really like Schlatt, and they will latch themselves onto him. It's weird to think yesterday nobody knew who you looked like, and now you're getting heart emojis all over your face where people are putting that as their Twitter profile. I mean, it's weird. It's really fucking weird. I mean, they're making it a part of their personality to call you attractive. I mean, everyone's calling you a hot piece of ass. Just someone you really want to get to know, to think with them, to feel with them, to be with them. Just to think, there could be a moment where you're in a hotel room because you wanted to save some money, but then you start trying to talk to each other from across the bed, but it's just a little too inconvenient. You don't want to have to yell, but neither of you are sure if it's the right move to get on the same mattress. It's scary to think someone could even have that sort of fantasy about you, but people were, probably. And Schlatt wanted to do nothing more than curl into a ball and melt off his face. And streaming was just no longer fun to do on the side. Oh, it's that, you want me to play Minecraft for the 100th time? I mean, it was a legitimate job that made him a lot of money, but when you live stream immediately after having a face reveal, I mean, do you really want to? Do you really want to look at the chat over on this monitor and see a bunch of people talking about, oh, what about your face, Schlatt? What about your face? Do you really want that to happen? I think you really do want that to happen. That's the biggest thing you ever wanted to happen to you. Yeah, they were talking about you before, but now they're really talking about you. They're not just trying to poke you with a stick, trying to get the funny out of you. They're attempting to inquire things that become increasingly more and more inconvenient to what you want to do, which is have fun while playing a game. But gradually, all of these eyes looking at you is starting to take away the thrill of what you're doing, and you have to make a decision. Do you want to choose the fans' happiness, or do you want to keep your own sanity? 2, Jay Schlatt. I have a toxic relationship with what I love doing. I'm a content creator similar to you, except I make comics. I actually amassed a sizable following and love making what I do. I've been making comics since middle school and have continued making them for 5 years to only now receive a following this year. These 5 years of experience helps me to understand what sort of people hold me back and what to avoid when it comes to playing my cards. My issue is that I want to take a hiatus to better understand myself and to take some time to improve my writing and other skills in general, but I keep making comics, not out of pity or for feeling bad for my fans, but out of complete impulse. I'm aware that if I keep making comics at the rate I do, I will have burnout. I've never been in a relationship. Thanks for saying that. But I also heavily relate to Smokey Robinson's songs where he's talking about a girl, but instead of a girl, it's comics. It feels like a toxic relationship, except I can say from the bottom of my heart that I'm still having a positive experience. How am I able to leave doing something I love so I don't end up hating it? Now that was an email sent July 27th of 2020 to none other than Schlatt himself on his weekly Slap email account that he has. Basically, he'd go through his email, find one with a good title to it, read it, and maybe he'd use it for a video. By all means, he could have read that email, I wouldn't know, but I'm going to assume he hasn't. I mean, I haven't read that email since I sent it to him however long ago, 4 years ago. And if I knew it was going to be in a video, not his video, but one of my videos 4 years later, I would have taken some time to reevaluate some things I said. But for some context of what I'm even talking about in that email, I used to make webcomics. Back in 2020, I used to make them. But for these last 4 years, I've been making videos and nothing but. Because by 2020, I was watching people succeed on this platform, and they were people like me that were succeeding, not people older than me. And I felt like it was time. I had to kick myself into a new gear and try to make videos again. But there were a lot of things holding me back. I had a lot of fears, one of which being that I would have to give up something in pursuit of what I thought would be greener pastures. Fast forward 4 years later, and what do you know, I don't make comics anymore, needless to say. But what I thought was going to be a greener pasture at first turned out to be a lot more rocky of a road than I thought. What I'm saying is that I'm 21, and compared to where Schlatt was at 21, well, I'm kind of a late bloomer. I don't know. What do you think I've done?
But if we were to battle, I've already won.
Now, I don't know what prompted me to make that email 4 years ago, but I guess I saw what Schlatt was doing, and it was something I wanted to do, so if I were to ask advice from anyone, he was the guy to ask advice to. I wanted to be a YouTuber growing up. I still want to be a YouTuber. Well, I guess I'm kind of a YouTuber, but I don't know, it just doesn't have the same weight when you don't have 100,000 or a livelihood from it. But I have some good news, everybody. We achieved 911 subscribers in the last 28 days. Round of applause, round of applause. This is a continuation of an old video, so I gotta figure out where was I at last time. Oh wait, I remember. The rest of 2019 was very smooth sailing for Jay Schlatt. He joined some other SMPs, kept live streaming, doing what he was doing. The most risky thing he did was trying other games that weren't Minecraft on his channel, which worked to varying degrees, and at least in retrospect it's worked better than his Minecraft videos. They're much more viewed than his Minecraft videos. He was also on some podcasts at the time, like the Goopcast, which was a podcast hosted again by C-Scoop, real name Cooper, and Call Me Carson, real name Carson. The connections he was making to these YouTubers would eventually become something bigger in due time though, but we'll get to that. I'll get to it. You won't. You'll sit down and watch. Every once in a while, especially in the context of gaming on YouTube, there will eventually be the idea of a group of people getting together and making content together. You already play games and record podcasts with these people on a regular basis, so why not have something a little more organized for our own benefit? Sometimes these groups would move into a house with each other with the intent of collaboration being easier to commit to and for the potential of real life content like vlogs to be recorded. Now, some of these groups succeed more than others. You can either die a team crafted or live long enough to see yourself become the sidemen. Near the end of 2019, Schlatt, along with Charlie of Slimesicle fame and Ted Nivison, were invited to be part of a group that consisted of C-Scoop, real name Cooper, Call Me Carson, real name Carvis, as well as Travs, real name Travis, and Hugbox, real name Noah. And with their powers combined, as well as a few name changes, they came up with Lunch Club. They did gaming content together, which wasn't anything new, but they also got together in real life at the heart of LA to make some quality content. They also had a podcast. The easiest comparison you can make at the the time was another group called the Misfits that they commonly collaborated with. Once they went to Australia to meet their brother group and record some stuff over there, though I'm not sure any of it saw the light of day on their channel except their last video, because yes, Lunch Club ended. Between their first video on January 25th and their last video on November 11th, Lunch Club lasted about 10.5 months. Doing the math, this was in 2020 and there was this virus going around. I don't know, it had people staying inside or whatever. So realistically, in the public eye at least, Lunch Club lasted about 5 months. I know you're thinking January to March is only 2 months in between, but realistically, the Lunch Club podcast went on for an extra couple months before shutting down on its own accord. Ah yes, a once promising idea on paper that was shot down due to circumstances beyond their control. And you know what, if I can talk about Lunch Club in a more candid sense, I only watched it for schlatt. I didn't care about anyone else. Here's something you have to remember. If you have nostalgia for the Lunch Club, it's definitely not because these guys were entertaining. It's probably something a lot more subconscious. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean it in the sense that these guys were all like 20. And I'll just say they didn't have enough training to be at the peak of their powers.
I'm done?
In your seat, you can sit and wait.
The rest of them kind of suck on camera though.
Sit and wait.
They're kind of not good.
Again, the reason I watched schlatt was because I connected to him the most as a creator at the time in terms of what he was doing, because he was someone who was putting in the work I wanted to see from a YouTuber that wasn't me.
I tell the jokes.
Seeing him have that in action but also in real life was something very interesting to me, so when I watched the Lunch Club, I only watched it for him. I'm just gonna be honest, everyone else was just like an annoying high school stereotype to me. Call Me Carson and Slimesicle were like annoying band kids, Ted Nivison was a theater kid, which I still have flashbacks from, and the rest of them were stoners. But yeah, when I was watching Lunch Club, I was just watching it for this one guy just to see what he would do. I think that was probably the point of Lunch Club though, was to get someone like me who only watched one of these creators and integrate all of these audiences together. But anyways, a virus started going around and Lunch Club ended around the same time. Coincidence? Maybe, but really it only affected the group. I mean, these were YouTubers, they were already recording in their rooms anyways, so it didn't affect them that much. I mean, schlatt was already making videos where he sat in his room playing video games. The only difference between someone like schlatt and people who were pigeonholed into being inside all day were that they had nothing better to do than to watch someone like schlatt. This was also a great time to live stream, which schlatt was no longer doing. schlatt Live was no longer live. Although schlatt streamed, he was ultimately a YouTuber at heart and opted for entertainment over intimacy with his viewers. He felt like he was on thin ice all the time and scared of being banned at all for the slightest mistake made, or for the fact that at this point all he was known for on Twitch was being a Minecraft streamer, which was a contrast to the fans he had on YouTube that would watch his other videos. But oh, if you go to Twitch and stream anything else that isn't Minecraft, well guess what, no one watches because they're like actual teenagers or children and they only want to watch one thing. It was a downward spiral of burnout that needed to be resolved sooner than later, and what better way to resolve it than to just leave it all behind, to not stream anymore. As much as people loved it when schlatt streamed, schlatt did not, and this time, he chose himself. During this absence of a live presence, his channel consisted of the aforementioned Wii games along with gameplay of Five Nights at Freddy's for some reason, and Sub Rosa, a game he originally played on his old channel. While this was all happening, and while schlatt would try to branch away from Minecraft out of fatigue for playing it all the fucking time, Minecraft was more popular than it's ever been through the way it was able to cultivate communities on YouTube. For everything to make sense, let me talk about Minecraft for a second. In November, a YouTuber, you might have heard of him, Wilbur Soot. I'm sorry. Anyways, Wilbur Soot, who had collaborated with schlatt on a live stream here and there, also joined SMP Live, was making his own SMP, his own Minecraft server in collaboration with someone named Chipple Dipple. If SMP Live was going to die, then this game needed a hero. Many familiar faces from SMP Live would join this server, as well as new faces like Technoblade, who created an empire in the Antarctic. Also in this server was a baby-faced, baby-voiced, high-pitched 15-year-old British thing walking around called Tommy Innit. He was an excessively nervous, bitchless entity on the cusp of achieving his own 100,000 subscribers. And he was a small fry hanging around with the big dogs like Captain Sparkles and Technoblade, who got the biggest surge of attention in his YouTube career through winning 5 of the 4 weeks of Minecraft Monday Monday, but that fizzled out, who cares? Regardless, Technoblade needed something else to do, and what better to do than interact with other YouTubers? It seemed to work so damn well on Minecraft Monday. Here's the strange thing about Tommy Innit though. He was able to become the amalgamation of everything he enjoyed on YouTube, becoming a much more refined internet personality at a younger age. Younger than anyone he grew up watching. His childhood hero isn't Captain Sparkles or Ant Venom or Sky Does Minecraft. His childhood hero was this one YouTuber, you might have heard of him, called schlatt. This is a very weird feeling. Okay, I know, it's very heartwarming and touching that you've helped inspire creators to be the best version of themselves they could be, but with that also heeds a warning. The attention this channel got would naturally expand his audience, cause it to even shift some. If more people knew about him, then more people would want to be like him. I think that's a simple equation, and if someone can learn from him the same way he learned from his heroes, then it begs the question. If people could be just like him and optimize the style he worked all his life to create, then what was stopping people from watching them instead of him? This is a common phenomenon known as imposter syndrome, which is specifically when a 13-year-old draws perfect anatomy as you struggle to draw a face that not only makes you want to gouge your eyes out, but the eyes you tried to draw. I'm exaggerating, but Schlatt is a student of YouTube that is keenly aware of how fast YouTube's environment can change. The videos he made in 2018 no longer had a place for who he is only a year later. Now he makes gaming videos that maximize entertainment over sentiment. Not to say people still didn't like that sort of content. Heck, the Weekly Slap had its own cult following, but the environment of YouTube is all too unpredictable, and what works today could be gone tomorrow. No one knows this better than the guy who had his channel terminated at random.
I liked when YouTube shut my channel down.
Schlatt was in a weird stage in his life. By November of 2019, he was at 500,000 subscribers. And at this rate, 1 million subscribers was still an uncertainty. Something bad could happen at any second, and Schlatt knew YouTube enough that even the smallest mistakes could lead to irreversible consequence. But day by day, as his sub count grew, it became less a matter of if and more a matter of when. Speaking of the Weekly Slap, well, it was no longer weekly. There were multiple month-long gaps between uploads, going as long as 2 months apart, but when he came back in September, he eventually started focusing on his inbox series instead of the biographical updates of his life. This eventually being the only thing he would upload on his channel for a long time. More people watched them, and by watching them, they felt a deeper connection to Schlatt than if he just talked about himself. He started becoming a mentor to those that seeked it out. If schlatt Live was to entertain, then the Weekly Slap was meant to inspire. But I don't think even he could have expected that something like this would have accelerated the timeline of people being influenced by him. Because he was becoming the inspiration to a lot of people by the time he was 20. He was seeing how a new generation of people could just pop up and become just like him, just like how he was like his inspirations. If I can assert myself real quick, I wouldn't be making this video if I wasn't as influenced by Schlatt as I am. Because throughout my timeline of watching Schlatt, the biggest question I had in my mind was constantly asking, how will he grow as a creator? I felt like a talent scout that was watching someone I knew was bound for greatness, and I wanted to be there for every step of the way. But at the same time, I was watching the Weekly Slap and seeing someone make these videos where they're just speaking what's on their mind with the combination of Call of Duty gameplay. I mean, this was addictive stuff to watch to me. Not just addictive to watch, but tempting to replicate. I would make my own, and to this day still make my own video game commentaries that no one watches simply because I watched a guy who did it and he felt satisfied making these videos, getting pressuring thoughts off of his chest. I feel as if I need a sense of direction. No, but I had thoughts I needed to get off my chest. Sometimes I wouldn't even put gameplay over these videos. I would film them with a camera, which just wraps around to being a vlog again. But at the same time, I wouldn't be making those videos if it weren't for Schlatt. I mean, this guy has such a strange duality, wanting to be the most entertaining YouTuber, but also wanting to be extremely sincere, things that are seemingly contradictory with each other, but he's doing it at the same time. What's that all about? I'm very observant of his ability to entertain, but the thing that makes me obsessed with him is his innate sense to be human on the exact platform he chooses to entertain. Now, I originally stated that I don't have a parasocial relationship with Schlatt. That was a lie. Now, I don't want to say I have a relationship per se with Schlatt, but I do expend a lot of emotional interest, energy, time to Schlatt without even realizing it. So, yeah, I do have a parasocial relationship with Schlatt. It's one-sided. I spend way more emotional energy towards him than he does to me. He doesn't know I exist. Honestly, I don't even want him to know I exist because of the embarrassing amount of time I have spent thinking about another man. I've accepted the fact that I just can't help it. I think about YouTube a lot. I study YouTube a lot, and schlatt is a part of that YouTube that I study. It's even to the point I rewatch A Tribute to Minecraft, but the actual video itself is not this hyperbolic awakening to me because I didn't even know who schlatt was when he uploaded it. I can only look at it with hindsight and with the context I do now in the context of schlatt. But it didn't mean I wasn't inspired because I actually did want to make my own tribute in the style of what he did, but with my own twist, of course. But I wanted to do it with a game I associated with my childhood and growing up. It was an experience I cherished, going onto a website where your parents was scared of a living, breathing virus living on there that would explode the computer just to play this game I found on Thanksgiving Day called Bloons Tower Defense 3. I'm going to stop it right there because any attempt I have made towards this video has always ended horribly. Whether it be video corrupting, not recording at all, if I had to move, something has always gone one way or another when trying to make this video, so you know what, I'm not even going to bother trying to talk about it. But once 2020 comes around, the timeline of schlatt gets hard to follow. After SMP Live dissolves, schlatt stops streaming, but he doesn't stop existing. In fact, he becomes even more prominent. This is where the story of schlatt goes from being a channel to a full throttle towards his personality. schlatt is no longer a channel, it's the guy. I couldn't tell you every single encounter he appears on other people's channels, let alone live streams, but at least his own channel he showed some highlights on a Twitch game show that he was on called Lover Host. The premise was simple. It was a dating show where a bunch of potential dates would get into a video call with the lovebird eliminating each contestant one by one. But here's the catch, each contestant could choose between a love or a host. By that I mean they could either choose true love, you know, have a nice date with the streamer, or, you know, get a broadcast plug that could get them a lot of attention, or a host, that's what it's called on Twitch. Tonight's bachelorette was Alexandria Botez, a chess streamer that's just as smart as she is attractive, and she has a lot of lucky men in line having the chance to get to know her, including Esfand, Fedmeister, and Destiny. Just like the show goes, each contestant was getting eliminated one by one. Schlatt was still in, but he was playing it safe to say the least. But he was able to get through all the other guys, 10 men down to 2, and one of them was schlatt. Alex didn't choose schlatt, she chose Fedmeister, and a day after schlatt uploaded his video of that lover host, Fedmeister was accused of sexual assault by other streamers. Ultimately, this was not a show to be taken seriously, and the love involved was not meant to be true love. If anything, this was another way to make connections and find new people to talk to, the prime example being Minx, who schlatt had a chemistry with in particular. They made for entertaining streams, or at least stream highlights, down to the point of when Minx was the star, schlatt went for the bit and chose host. Said he chose host and still won. And in case you're wondering, yes, schlatt's Twitch channel was inactive, so the host was practically worthless. You can see a new era of schlatt develop in real time, away from Minecraft and into guns that he used as his personality, smashing keyboards, had a whiteboard that he put funny things on, lit up some candles that smelled exactly like Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina. That's not a joke, that's actually what that is. Also, there was this thing that happened in 1999, but more specifically, when I say you could see a new era develop in real time, I mean he's developing these ugly, repulsive chops that are just like growing on the side of his face, and they just like, they get fuzzier and grosser, and it's just like, but jokes aside, these chops were a reaction to something larger happening not just to schlatt, but on YouTube in general. This thing called stan culture. Here you go. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been drinking tonight, but I wanted the prop anyways. So in the simplest way to put it, the internet was becoming more online. The internet was changing in a way that schlatt's personality was garnering him more success than if he was just genuine like he was on the old channel. But it's been very clear since the face reveal, maybe even before that, he's been very antsy about people attaching themselves to him. But it's a different type of parasocial attachment where instead of feeling attached to someone, you genuinely feel something emotional between you and this person that doesn't know you. To put it simply, schlatt didn't like being attractive in a way that it could be made into someone's profile picture with a bunch of heart emojis, or even worse, someone's fan fiction. But by growing these chops, these disgusting nasty chops, he was able to overcome the situation that he had with the face reveal. The chops made him look dumb, but he'd rather look dumb than have people stan him. He wants to be an entertainer, but he doesn't want to be a friend or even provide the slightest illusion of being a friend, because he's not. He doesn't know you, he never will. A great example of stan culture was this Minecraft YouTuber that was absolutely exploding at the time. You might have heard of him, you might have even dreamed of him. Oh my god! Now, someone can be more in depth about this. This video is about schlatt and not Dream, but to put it simply, Dream had fans. Dream had very dedicated fans. There was no fan base that will latch onto what they love more than teenage girls, and that's what Dream's audience was. A very vocal part of Dream's audience were teenage girls that would go on Twitter and talk about what they liked all the time. They were the ones that would make the accounts based around entire people, and yeah, it was creepy. I'm scared of teenage girls. But before the ball really got rolling in stan culture, a few things happened. First, Dream made his own SMP, the Dream SMP. Who would have guessed? At this rate, Schlatt himself was about to reach 900,000 subscribers, but that paled in comparison to Dream, who was a few months away from reaching 10 million subscribers. It's very interesting to see what is essentially polar opposites in their respective field of YouTube. Dream's brand consisted of nothing but Minecraft, but Schlatt was trying to push his image away from just playing Minecraft. Dream reciprocated the love of his fans, and Schlatt did everything he could to distance himself from his fans. Schlatt had a face, Dream was an embodiment. Schlatt was once again invited to another SMP by someone who looked up to him, none other than Tommy Innit. He was now the person people wanted to beat the Ender Dragon with, and it only took a year. This also showed another aspect about Schlatt that was really starting to escalate at this point. He was able to generate views outside of his channel. It's a weird thing where Schlatt was just as busy as every other channel, but it was on things that weren't his channel. The way Twitch exploded in 2020 is absolutely insane, to the point I think even Schlatt's Twitch channel actually more than doubled in follower count, even though he never streamed. Not only that, but his live channel was doing weekly uploads and things that barely had any relation to anything else he was doing. Likely better for his creativity and mental health. But it certainly wasn't any Minecraft, and this was the guy who brought it back, a king who didn't want the crown. But the Dream SMP was huge. They started doing this narrative that was kind of like watching a TV drama live, some sort of soap opera, and the kids couldn't get enough of it. At its peak, if you got every creator that was live streaming during one of these story arcs, the live view count accumulated to 1 million people watching all at once, and Schlatt was still not streaming. But it gave a pretty unique perspective. He played a tyrannical leader in the server, and because he didn't show his POV, it did make him all the more mysterious. Now, another thing that Schlatt had in opposition to Dream was their fan base. I guess you could say Schlatt had an edgier sense of humor. I haven't brought it up so far just because it's been that insignificant to my memory, but also just in retrospect. But for a period, there was a larger spike than usual around cancel culture and canceling people for some sense of justice. And my memory serves me better than actual archives, but I remember Dream's fan base absolutely hated Schlatt. Any phobia or ism, anything you could think of, this guy did it. And I remember he was making Jackbox videos around this time that emphasized a sense of humor that relied on shock value, but it doesn't really matter now. Really, this was the accumulation of like a few jokes that happened over the past few years. If you're not terminally online, there's this thing on Twitter called a trigger warning. Trigger warning is Twitter's version of a viewer discretion. So if someone died, you know, that's like a little heads up. But the funny thing is that people would put a trigger warning for people on the internet like Schlatt. I'm gonna be honest, Schlatt isn't even that edgy of a person. I guess he makes 9/11 jokes, but who doesn't? Like, even trying to find archives of people putting trigger warnings on these Schlatt tweets, all of these accounts are suspended. All of these people upset over this one guy are lost to time. You can't find archives of people being offended by him now. This one in particular says, trigger warning, eye contact. I mean, it's not like he hopped on an interview with Destiny and started talking about politics or anything. That part of his personality doesn't come out much. In fact, it doesn't come out at all. In fact, I don't think it's even a part of his personality. But at the time, this is an unprecedented social pressure that is even hard to comprehend now. So here's at least my interpretation of Jay Schlatt and cancel culture, because I'm not going to focus on this for too long. I got other things to talk about. So when someone actually gets canceled, it's usually within the context of doing something illegal or so immorally reprehensible that the person should no longer have a career or a platform. Case in point, Fedmeister. But the worst thing Schlatt has ever done was make jokes that might have aged poorly. Maybe he said a word he shouldn't have 3 years ago, but really there wasn't any heinous act that he committed. Basically, people were trying to judge his actual character off a character he puts up in his videos. He spent so much time working his way to get out of stan culture and having people be overly attached to him, only for Dream stans to be overly attached to him, except they want him gone. And once Jay Schlatt was gone, what would happen? I don't know. I really don't understand cancel culture to this day, so it's just like imaginary fairy tale magic, if we're being honest. Also, I should mention, all of this cancel culture stuff was just on Twitter. No one on YouTube cared, no one on Instagram cared, no one cared except for a small amount of people on Twitter, mostly white teenage girls. They scare me. I'm genuinely scared of them. And because it was just a small amount of people that were trying to deplatform him and they have absolutely no sway on the internet, he did the best thing anybody could do, which was nothing. And that's what he did. He just prioritized making a silly little tweet every once in a while instead of actually using the website, which is the healthiest way to use it aside from not using it at all. I don't know what it is about Twitter. I don't understand Twitter psychology. Every time I use it, it drives me up the fucking wall how like people will just, if somebody makes an annoying tweet, you find out they actually kicked a child in the head once and you can use that as a quote retweet. I don't know. I guess there's this emotional high when social justice is served hot on a platter. And when it came to Schlatt, there were a bunch of people waiting at a table at a restaurant demanding that they had the Schlatt special, his head on a platter. But the longer they waited, the more restless they became. Even the smallest reciprocation of Schlatt would have been enough, but it never happened. And they were so set on ruining the career of this one guy who finally achieved his dreams. Like I said, cancel culture, it's pretty much imaginary. It doesn't really affect anything unless you actually murdered someone, which as far as I'm concerned, Schlatt didn't do. Ooh, 1999, ooh. You know what, that joke isn't funny to me. But really, when it comes to Schlatt, there's nothing to really talk about regarding cancel culture, so let's ask the real questions, like, who is Jack Manifold? This is an actual question I've been having for years now, like, where did he come from? His first video was with Tommy in it, and I'm 99% sure he was never introduced as a person around these people. He just started joining the Let's Plays, and they were just like, oh, it's Jack Manifold. Like, no, who? Who is that? Where the fuck did he come from? I'm not upset, I'm just not convinced that he isn't a figment of my imagination. To me, he's like the Minecraft YouTuber equivalent of Graggle Simpson or Mr. Poopy Butthole. And I mean, he hasn't gone away either. He hasn't exactly like fizzled out like some other Minecraft YouTubers. I guess we're doing Jack Manifold now. And I just want you to know, I don't want an actual answer. Also, in October of 2020, Schlatt and friends revived the Sleep Deprived podcast after going dead for a little there, and do I say that it sucks? Well, I already did say it. Shit. There's nothing worse than a group of people trying way too hard to be funny to me. But there's the weekly slap. Yes, the vessel where Schlatt can still show a version of himself to people that doesn't show anywhere else. The episodes are few and far between, but it's always a welcome surprise to see another one show up. In fact, a new one just showed up on Christmas Day called Goodbye for Now. To put it simply, Schlatt had multiple reasons to give up the channel, and he felt it was time to move on from what the weekly slap was. YouTube was no longer a platform to talk about Schlatt's life as much as it was his life, but it also showed that there was another reason to not get too attached to his fans beyond the parasocial nature and fear of hurting them. By reading his inbox of all the emails he gets for his channel, there's a certain amount of energy you have to devote to each individual email. And when a bunch of people have problems, many of them are larger than others, and it's not that your problems aren't valid, but by being one person, there's absolutely no way to devote all the energy received for these emails. It's understandable, but even then I can't help but put my own grimy parasocial hands on this whole thing. It was implicative towards something broader, the end of an era. This was really that last relic of anything Schlatt was doing consistently for even the last year. But the fact that he still had something that existed before J Schlatt Live made it all the more special, so for that to be given up, it truly concluded a certain time in Schlatt's life. I mean, when it comes to his old channel, it makes sense why it's an archive. Every decision in a J Schlatt video was a calculated move that was forwarded by him. There was no outside influence, no other editors, no other nothing except the occasional creator being featured in a podcast or a video, but the point is that it wasn't outsourced. The same goes for the weekly slap. As far as I'm concerned, it's all him behind the computer making all of this. And quite frankly, if he wasn't editing his videos on the weekly slap, I think I would lose interest in the channel altogether. But with the retirement of the weekly slap, it emphasized this idea that J Schlatt was no longer a channel, it was a personality. Heck, it was even a brand. His face is a brand, his character is a brand. It's all part of a certain image that doesn't reflect who he was 2 years ago, and it was meant to not reflect that. The sentiment was gone. He is an entertainer and someone edits his videos for him. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but don't get it twisted. What he does now is not about Schlatt. He is doing a job, and and anything to make it feel more like a job and not a personal liability is all he wants right now. In December of 2020, Schlatt joined a podcast called The Create Unknown, a podcast hosted by Kevin Leiber of Vsauce 2, if you still watch that channel, I mean. But this was also one of those videos where Schlatt was at his most candid, talking about things he felt genuine about, but at the same time, this was also one of the least viewed. Seriously, this was him, Schlatt After Hours, the dude that exists after the cameras shut off. But on this podcast, he mentioned a lot of things. He talked about cancel culture in one of the few moments where he actually acknowledged it. Basically, people that were trying to cancel him don't watch him. He might as well be imaginary to them. But he also mentioned that he was looking for a new house, not in New York, because people who do YouTube don't do YouTube in New York. In fact, he was looking at houses in a place called Austin, Texas. The year is 2021. 2020 was an absolute rush, and things are only gonna get crazier from here. The pandemic was finally going away, and eventually Schlatt would be able to...
What is up, Drama Alert Nation?
Well, I'm gonna stick to the facts here, which was that one day in March, he called me shortly before he told Travis. Everybody was up in LA, and he told most of them face to face, but he called me, and I picked up the phone, and he was basically like, I have to tell you something, and then he told me that he did underage girls, and I think that he said that they were fans, and that was what I was told.
Did he tell you how old they were?
Call Me Carson got into some drama. Specifically, an incident happened where he was texting someone who was a fan and they were sending explicit stuff to each other. Now, there are other things that go into play towards this situation that I don't really want to get into, someone else can, but the main thing I want to focus on is that Carson was using his platform to manipulate fans and use his power to get stuff he wants. If he wasn't talking to fans, it would probably still have been a controversy, but it would have been a different story. When this happened, any activity from any of Carson's channels stopped, and from what it looked like, his career died right there. Because he was a part of a group with Carson, Schlatt had his own interpretation of this controversy. One that I mostly parrot the opinion of because I trust Schlatt's experience. But in hindsight, the dissolution of Lunch Club makes a lot more sense than just a virus going around. Lunch Club had not only seemed to end with the pandemic, but it seemed like the actual group split apart rather abruptly. It was in a way that wasn't really questioned, but it makes a lot more sense now, especially after March of 2020. Schlatt's content didn't have a sharp turn, but you can see him gradually despise many of the identifiable aspects of his content, namely things that kind of grouped him with Carson in the first place. Now, I don't want to be an armchair therapist, but there's an interesting correlation that happened here. Now, what I mean by that is that he kind of started growing his chops around the same time the Carson situation happened. The dissolution of Lunch Club would initially had to come out to the members before being public at the dawn of 2021. In April of 2020, after Lunch Club dissolves behind the scenes, Schlatt starts developing the image of his facial hair. And I don't want to go into any theories or looking in places I shouldn't, but it would at least connect a few dots that aren't crazy to believe in. Take his video where he actually explains why he grew facial hair. He says that it's his journey of learning to not give a single shit about you. It goes into the discourse of parasocial relationships, but also his fear of what happens when that relationship between the audience and the creator becomes real. Because he hasn't just experienced what happens when that relationship becomes a legitimate thing, he's seen what happens to the mental health of those creators and the people affected by it. It's a dangerous line that, if crossed, it can destroy everything around you. So why even cross that line in the first place? In fact, why even get near that line? Because I'm not your friend, I'll never be your friend, and I don't want you to even consider that because you'll never know me like I know myself. This is a persona. I'm a normal person, but I'm here to entertain you, and if you think about entertaining others, then just give up while you're ahead, because if you're not a fluke, then once you're here, everyone is just going to try to tear you down. Or you're with someone that has been torn down, because remember, all of this can be taken away. To this day, any and all momentum for Carson has stopped. His channel being stunted at his sub count after such a meteoric rise was strange. It's strange to not hear his name after 3 years or anything about him for that matter. His career isn't over, but it's peaked. Schlatt still wasn't as big as Carson at the time, but he was still growing compared to Carson, and eventually his relationship with Carson wouldn't define his career as much as it would be a footnote of the past. But you could still see the ripples of what they did together. In particular, from the ashes of Lunch Club, and a few months after the last Lunch Club upload would come a podcast called Chuckle Chuckle Sandwich. This is an immensely popular podcast featuring the likes of former Lunch Club members Jay Schlatt, Ted Nivison, and Charlie of Slimesicle fame. Now, unfortunately, I didn't go through all of the podcast episodes. In fact, I haven't gone through a single one because honestly, after about 5 minutes, I get bored of it, and its energy is not my energy. February was arguably one of the busiest months for Schlatt. He was moving! Austin, Texas, baby! A lot of those connections he was making over the last year were in Austin anyways, and quite frankly, if his life was going to be YouTube, it's better to treat it like a business and to get rid of anything that could be personal about it in the first place. This is really what he needed. He was making videos in his childhood room, but this was finally a place he could go to where the environment was a work environment. He could treat work like work. It wasn't without its hiccups. Texas was in an unprecedented snowstorm that shut off any and all electricity in the area. People died and the governor wasn't even there to deal with any of it. But eventually Texas would get warmer and the light at the end of the tunnel for Schlatt to really hit the throttle on his career. Also, he just got a cat, Jambo. It's orange and it's the dumbest thing on the planet, but you know what? It got 11 million views on the video. Basically, yeah, things were looking promising for Schlatt and Austin seemed to be the right move. Now, regarding the timeline of 2021, I don't really have a great account between March and August, and I just don't care enough to detail this part of his life. I know he went to Los Angeles because he recorded a video with Ted Nivison, and also he was doing things in Chuckle Sandwich where he had to go to Los Angeles. He was also a part of game shows. There was one hosted by a guy named Ludwig, God only knows where that took place. Not only was he existing in more things outside of his channel than within, but also getting more views on videos not on his channel. Again, he was in Tommy Innit videos as a guiding mentor to this Brit. He was uploading a lot less than he did in New York, and his videos now were a lot more vague. In May, he joined media organization One True King, or OTK, which was an organization made by Asmongold, Esfon, Mizkiff, Rich Campbell, and Tips Out. And these are streamers, I don't care about them, but hey, Schlatt's in this thing, I might as well look at him, which again was probably kind of the point. He's the YouTube influence towards this whole thing. Asmongold stated that OTK came up with this idea of making an organization and building the organization around our friends. Wow, a great opportunity for Schlatt to join an organization that was built around friendship. Okay, yeah, the last time wasn't all that great, but you know what? This is new, it's a lot more professional. I think this is going to work out this time. But while we wait for August 29th, 2021 to roll around, I wanted to talk about the, Schlatt Stimulus. Schlatt is a very viewable guy, not just for himself, but for other people. There's multiple reasons as to why he's appealing to be featured on channels besides himself. During 2020, when he wasn't streaming, people wanted him to at least be streamed, and when he was, it made for an easy highlight. But his video output wasn't as consistent, and the only thing he was uploading were highlights anyways on a completely different channel, which that highlights channel was purely made for money, as quoted by Schlatt.
And thanks for watching the clips, because honestly, we started this channel to make some money, and that's what the fuck we've done.
But he was still demanded as a personality, so him being in other people's videos made for a huge boost. Maybe not purely for Schlatt, but Ludwig's video with Schlatt in the title got 7 million views. I mean, whatever this guy's doing, it seems to have a fucking Midas touch. Almost everything he touches can get 1 million views. He is a walking paycheck for a lot of people, including most of all, himself. But that's what happens when you're an entertaining personality. People want to see you be entertaining, and if you can't provide that on your own channel, and you're providing it on other people, then people who have that channel are going to reap the benefits, and they happily will. It's not like Schlatt was struggling or anything. He has plenty of money, but I mean, it's just not his channel is what I'm saying. And it's also why it's hard to document this time frame, because he's just in so much stuff. Seriously, I can't keep track of all of it. He's in like 3 different circles and they're all doing different things. I completely forgot about Sleep Deprived. As 2021 went on, it actually proved to be a pretty shitty year for Schlatt. Maybe even the shittiest year he's ever had. He was uploading sparsely, existing pretty sparsely, and on August 25th, we see a video from his channel, Big Guy, called Schlatt's Old Room Tour. Between a library of clips of him being the funny guy, there's this 21-minute video of him being as sincere as possible, just going around his old room, the room that he used to do videos in, and it's my favorite thing he's ever recorded ever. Now, if I had the choice, I wish his grandma didn't die for this video to be made, but since she did, thanks Gam Gam. The thing with Schlatt moving to Austin, Texas was that the only thing he really brought along with him was himself. After all, he wanted to focus on the business, and Schlatt was the business. But going back home and making this video, you can really see someone that was basically able to go back to his life as it was was a year ago. Practically nothing in his room had changed, and he was able to revisit a certain period of his life as it was. What I really appreciate the most about this video though is the bittersweet feeling of seeing Schlatt gradually ignited throughout the video, reliving what was practically the last 10 years of his life of YouTube laying dormant. And when you feel lost in life, sometimes all you need to see is the path that you took to where you are now. He went around his room looking at things that would have otherwise been decorations had he just stayed in the room. Schlatt took the plunge and tried something that he was uncomfortable with, going to Austin. But now that he's back at this place of comfort, recording it for a YouTube video, he had to explain everything to his audience, and really it was just to remind himself of what he had in his room. Like how he didn't have a bed in his room anymore because he was sleeping in another room due to enjoying the division of work and life. There was a collection of maybe 10 games, and that basically told you more about Schlatt's personality than most of his videos. He didn't really play anything new. Every game in that collection was from the Xbox 360 or Wii U. I don't know, maybe you can't beat the classics after all. Even when opening a drawer filled with cables and headphones, he was able to see identity in what he had. These weren't just headphones, these were the headphones Sips had when he recorded gameplay videos, which he cited as an influence as far back as 2018 in his tribute to Minecraft video. He surprised himself with things he didn't expect to see, found some things that made him remember what he loved, and having the reflection of the play button shine in your face is an experience very few get to truly have. And it's something he wasn't able to have while in Austin because all of his play buttons were back home. Everything was back home. It seemed to remind him why he was a creator or why he loved creating or entertaining. Yeah, it made him a lot of money once he got big, but he just loved doing it. A childhood room is a pretty good indicator of someone's identity, and Schlatt's identity was a bunch of YouTube bits and pieces that were lying around. 4 days later, the weekly slap was up and running again. And even though it will probably never be weekly, it's just good to be back. Schlatt seemed pretty burnt out, and this was a nice rejuvenation to bring him back to his roots. He didn't do the weekly slap so he could cater to this parasocial craving that his fans had. He did the weekly slap for himself, and no one was going to take that away from him anymore, damn it. This period of showing his growth as a creator would continue. September 2nd, Schlatt uploaded a video on his main channel for the first time since June called "I've Been Thinking of Retiring." And yeah, that's what the video was about. He thought about leaving it all behind. Now, Schlatt moved to Austin for greener pastures, but truthfully, it was an absolute struggle in his first year of being there. He could not find a consistent place to live to save his life. The place he was renting was sold to someone else, so he had to leave. And aside from moving to Austin during the peak of a snowstorm, there was even more problems happening before him. His cat needed surgery because it ate a bunch of magnets, and that doesn't come cheap. Not to mention the whole grandma dying thing. When your life is that inconsistent and that pulled apart by the forces of nature, your thoughts about YouTube aren't about what you're going to make next. And if you're not able to keep making videos because of shit luck after shit luck, then that gives someone enough time to see your audience and grab them for their own gain, just like how Schlatt grabbed a bunch of people uncertain about the future of their childhood and united them through Minecraft. Maybe the kids watching J Schlatt right now could see a tribute to Among Us, click on it, and suddenly they become the fans of a new YouTuber that Schlatt was. Because all J Schlatt has been doing for the past year is just sitting down in front of a camera and just complaining. Just talking about anything he wants with... He gets 1 million views. I mean, just thinking about all the work he had to do just to get a fraction of the attention that he gets now. I mean, compared to the sleepless nights that created what he was making and building his entire personality along the way as this crazy figure, I mean, it's like after years of learning to ride a bike, suddenly the bike becomes electric and you don't need to pedal it anymore. As long as you just steer enough, you can pretty much do whatever you want. This is the dream that millions and millions and millions of people have, and here he is living it. Not just living it, but thriving without even having to try. Not to say he isn't trying, but does he really have to? But regardless, in his life, it seems that the worst of the storm he was in has passed, and he can start doing what he wants to do now. And he did retire one thing in his channel, which was the weekly slap, but he brought that back, and in his retirement video, he says it's the most important thing he's ever done. And really, this whole video seems to be Schlatt finding his importance as a creator. But then the next thing that happens, at least to me, feels a little strange. To this day, it feels more like a quarter-life crisis, even more than anything else he's ever done. And honestly, this is probably the closest I'll get to actual criticism towards something he's done. So for context, Schlatt had a video idea. He wanted to visit the Czech Republic to see a statue of a monkey with really large balls. Massive things. And well, the video didn't go as planned. He couldn't get to the country, the airline screwed him over, that's another cancelled video even though he already put a lot of money into this. But later down the line, he has a plan. There are statues that he could buy for roughly $200,000 in total. He must have gotten really attached to the original Monkey Balls video because he talks about it across multiple videos that he had to scrap this thing. It was an unfulfilled project that never got off of its feet. So buying these statues is the next best thing he could do. But the actual idea of buying Monkey Ball statues isn't the most entertaining idea for a video on its own merit, but it created this call to action. He releases a merch line begging people to buy shirts so he can fund this vanity project. The next video in this series is him showing the monkey balls that he did buy, waiting for his next purchases, especially the big one. The statue Schlatt wanted to visit in the Czech Republic was on sale, and off the top of my head, I think it was $600,000, and he needed your help to fund the purchase again. He just released another line of merch, and it was a bunch of plushies while supplies last. Anyways, as far as I'm concerned, that went nowhere. The last video in this series is him getting the last of the monkey statues he got, and that's it. That's the video. This series was just Schlatt asking for money to buy monkey statues. He got the money, he bought the monkey, and that's it. That's all there was to it. It's really confusing to me within the context of Schlatt, considering this was his return to YouTube, and it felt like someone who still didn't really know what they wanted to do as a creator. Even when you put this video as an idea on paper, it honestly doesn't sound that good at all. So Schlatt wants a statue. He releases a line of merch to buy the statue. It gets funded. He buys the statue. What does he do with it? He buys it. That's it. That's all there is. That big statue is probably going to be the grand finale where he buys it and puts it somewhere in the Amazon rainforest, but that idea was far too ambitious for him anyways. I mean, Schlatt made it work for what it was, but it's a very expensive joke that his fans paid for. And I mean, he still got a paycheck from this. He got a net profit from buying these monkey statues, so it wasn't really in vain for him. There wasn't really a joke that was at his expense here.
Because I made merchandise to fund the procurement of that statue, and it made more money than the statue cost. So it was a net profit.
True. I mean, he's basically a millionaire that owns art now, and art increases in value over time anyways. It's an asset. And I understand a part of Schlatt's persona is that he's a capitalist, but this is an actual thing that he did with real money. This isn't like S&P Live where he faked a cryptocurrency in Minecraft. And I understand that over time Schlatt's wealth has become a part of his personality. It's a joke of his that he has a lot of money and that everything he does on YouTube is for money now. A new channel being made, well, it's for the money. A new merch line, well, that's also for the money. The sponsorships, I mean, it goes without saying. And I'm not trying to put myself on a moral high ground here. If I was in Schlatt's position, I would be doing a lot more things for the money. And the money is real regardless of the character you're playing, so when you do something like this, I mean, the lines get a little blurred to me. This doesn't feel like it comes from the best place. I just don't think Schlatt knows what he wants to do at this point in his career right now, and this is all he can do is just make money. And one thing I learned from this series is that merch launches are a lot easier to organize than inspiration is to come by. And I understand, these are customers that paid for this thing, you told them exactly what was going to happen with this money. In fact, you were as transparent as possible about this whole thing. But to me, this whole series feels more like a justification rather than something that actually wanted to be done. I guess the best way to put it is that when you're selling merch, the audience isn't going to be 100% unimpressionable. Regardless of who you think is going to buy the merch, there are people that have a sense of urgency and they have to get this new merch before it goes dry. But in my opinion, making a video series centered around selling merchandise just isn't that entertaining for me, and it comes off strange. And this is probably the most criticism I'll give to Schlatt during his career. This just felt strange to me. And he's talked about it again, and he's talked about that he's made a net profit, and I guess it's under the character, but it's also real money still. But he would go on to make stuff that was a lot more fulfilling, not just towards him, but to the viewers as well. Or would they even watch it in the first place?
5 years. It's been 5 whole years. It's been 5 years since I found Schlatt one day on YouTube, and ever since then I've been watching him. Day after day, a quarter of my life spent observing this person. And what do I have to show for it? Well, actually quite a lot. I keep making videos about him. But ultimately, Schlatt's appeal as a YouTuber is not within the YouTube video format. It's within his journey as a creator. And the more I learn about him, the more I realize this reality. I realize I don't even watch his channel. I don't even watch his podcast, his gameplay. I don't watch anything from him anymore. I just observe as I gain experience of someone else. The closer I can see the glass that contains the spectrum of humanity. And all I can do is sit here and drive myself to drink. I still don't like beer. It's about time I stop this. It's about time I stop thinking about Schlatt. But before I do that, I have some things I want to get off my chest. Now, I mentioned Schlatt's whole thing with the monkey balls and, how I didn't think that was the greatest investment of time or resources or really just a lot of things. Thankfully with OTK, he was actually doing stuff with them, specifically on their channel. And he had some videos on his channel to help crossover with this company he joined with his audience. Which even though it is technically a business decision, just like how the monkey balls were a business decision, I think this one's a lot more creatively fulfilling. And quite frankly, I find more value in these videos than a video asking me to buy merch so some man could solicit some nuts from another man. And these videos he uploaded, I know what this is. This is just cow chop. I'll explain, but this is the same formatting that they used to do. Actually, this is just one of the series they did, Amazon Prime Time, where they would buy random things off Amazon and gift it to each other. Granted, it was just as entertaining as it was wasteful, and that's Trevor. That's Trevor. That's Trevor from Cow Chop. This is just Cow Chop. Well, now I gotta explain what Cow Chop is. It was this YouTube channel. It no longer exists. But when it did, it was a gaming channel that focused on a variety of content. It was a creative outlet for two YouTubers in particular, James or Uberhaxon Nova and Alex, formerly Immortal HD. They created this channel as a way to escape the business-centric nature of their former channel, The Creatures Hub.
We have a weekly hub.
What do you mean?
The hub's gone to 1 day a week.
Whose idea was that?
And Cow Chop went well, until it didn't. They created their channel just as demonetization was in full effect on YouTube and their content was on the edgier side, to put it simply. Not only did the momentum of their channel plateau virtually overnight, but they had a constantly rotating cast of members, not to mention an entire overhaul to Los Angeles. And to put it simply, although it had great content for when it existed, it was simply too inconsistent and unreliable, at least in the business nature of it. It simply couldn't keep itself afloat and shut down within 3 years of existence. Like I said, it was great content, but the circumstances around Cow Chop were constantly in doom and destruction. And it was like that all the way up to the end. But honestly, the stuff they did, it was too good to go to waste. And Schlatt finally had the time, money, and influence to make this thing happen. He made a total of 2 videos, and on the actual OTK channel, he was doing his own version of Wrong Side of YouTube called OTK Reacts. And yes, Wrong Side of YouTube was also a Cow Chop series for those not on the loop.
This was a show we're directly copying from Cow Chop, but it's okay because Finn, pan the camera. It's Trevor Cow Chop right there.
But it speaks to a larger part of Schlatt. He wears his inspiration a lot more on his sleeve than the average YouTuber. Off the top of my head, his 9/11 jokes are based from Norm Macdonald. A lot of his humor seems to come from Norm Macdonald type pacing, but I don't know if he's ever mentioned it directly. Like I said, Trevor from Cow Chop is his editor now, something he grew up watching. And the channel he finds most meaning in is by being a relic of the past, using an outdated format and even more outdated technology where he pretends to be a fossil until he slowly, eventually becomes a fossil of a person. His entire mascot, his brand, is just a little animal from a game called Castle Crashers, Rammy. That was Jay Schlatt's first profile picture before he changed it to the Ram he uses now. It's a very interesting aspect about him. He's not really an innovator of content, but he celebrates the past more than any other past creator I've seen. Time and time again, the things that have the most focus out of anything he does are either just looking back on his past or trying to replicate it. But only once did the stars really align in his favor back in 2018 with a tribute to Minecraft, and even then it was in a contemporary format if you want to argue. But when he devotes a lot more energy into things that are his version of shows he enjoyed growing up, it doesn't seem to work as well in his favor, at least in comparison to the Jackbox videos. And on top of that, his streaming presence, and by that I mean he was just appearing on other people's streams. Again, he was still the entertaining one. He was around other streamers, which is a huge factor of why he went to Austin in the first place. I mean, he joined OTK earlier that year and it's just filled with streamers. He was hosting 2 podcasts that were both successful in their own right, but Austin was still rough, and frankly at this point I don't think it's ever gonna let up. Now regarding the timeline, Minx was an important part of Schlatt's identity up to this point. People loved, and I mean they loved, their chemistry. I know nothing about them behind the scenes, not my business. But there was one stream where something happened and it was just impossible to avoid. If you watch both of these people regularly, this was something that was hard to ignore. I don't really want to get into this, but it is a part of reality and it was on the internet for people to see, but Minx had a drinking problem that was noticeable. And there was one stream where OTK got together and Schlatt and Minx were in the same room. Now, I don't like bringing this up. In fact, I have a fear of it, of just a friend being reckless and doing dangerous things. I have a great fear of that, especially drinking. Having something this personal happen to you in a place where you're expected to be working, the whole reason you moved to Austin, you're seeing this really harsh reality that the issue was never where you were living or hanging out with. It's just that when your job is your life, then life is going to spill over or vice versa. And I watched the stream where this clip was from. Schlatt never looks like he wants to be there. He mostly just messes around with a black cat, and that's that. And I know, I'm assuming they got past this. There were some OTK videos that were recorded with them together, but just this moment, and again, I don't want to look too deep into this, but it's impossible to ignore, especially if it's online for everyone to see. What I'm saying is that a work-life balance is difficult, and it's difficult when you're both an employer and employee to YouTube. But then there's the hardest question, which is if any of this would happen if either of you chose this life to entertain, because it certainly doesn't help. It's stressful, and that stress affects people in different ways. To this day, it's been about 9 months since Minx has uploaded, the second oldest being 4 months prior. It seems he's at least taken a break, but some people do get dealt a bad hand. They can come up on the same path, the exact same shows, streams, videos, but it's in those moments where you're no longer hanging out with each other. And the people you hang out outside of those moments are what affects you too. Not just that, but you can also have different mental health issues, coping mechanisms, things that are effectively outside of your control. And you have to find the best way to deal with it. And if it means taking a break, then take your time. Remember, it's a rather beaten path that all of this can be taken away from you. But Schlatt has been on autopilot long enough. He's been dealing with a lot of shit already, but there was a change in the air. Something different was happening, and it was happening fast. December 2021, Schlatt made an announcement, a big one, too. He was back to streaming. Remember J Schlatt live? Alright, it's live again. We're back to streaming and it's gonna be a big one, a big return, okay? It's been 2 years too long. He got rid of a bunch of Minecraft stands. He was so back. Which leads me to 2022 to now. It's been kind of a blur, to put it simply. Sleep Deprived received the biggest Schlatt stimulus of all. They were recording gameplay content, opened up a Patreon, and the channel does so well that literally all of the other members got Schlatters. What the fuck was I trying to write? And this channel does so damn well that a panda abandoned his channel just to focus on Sleep Deprived. And the other two channels, I mean, they upload on their channel, but this is the big deal now. Sleep Deprived. This is a channel consisting of Schlatt's day oneers, a panda, Astrosis, Macacusis, whatever the fuck his name is. These are people that were with Schlatt at the very beginning, and they're still here with him in a collaborative effort. They get to experience the high of being a successful gameplay channel now, and by that I mean they make a living playing off video games. This does so much better for them that even considering doing anything else on their own that took more time, effort, and less payoff would be stupid. It just would. I mean, who knows this better than fucking J Schlatt? He just caught his friends up to his speed now. And speaking of J Schlatt Live, he found his most successful formula on YouTube, TikTok reaction videos, or video submission live streams. This was giving him more publicity than anything else ever had, and it brought an entirely new audience to his channel that wasn't here just a couple years ago. Chuckle Sandwich was now without Charlie, but it's fine because they're still averaging around 300,000 views per episode as a podcast. Imagine that RPM. Can I have it? Please? Please? And if Schlatt and Ted really wanted to, they could just do Chuckle Sandwich until they die. I mean, they probably make enough money off of it. And Schlatt also has stake in companies like Starforge Systems, which is a computer company that is part of OTK. Also, he would leave OTK later that year. In May of 2022, he would buy another company, Gamersups. And he would promote this thing anywhere and everywhere he possibly could while mentioning that he owns the company, because I'm pretty sure he is legally supposed to do that. And you know what? I've never had Gamersups. I don't really have any interest unless, you know, they sponsor me or they give me my own flavor or the fucking waifu cup. The waifu cups are really fucking weird, actually. So if you actually go to Gamersup's website and you go to their merchandise, I guess, they'll have these things called waifu cups. And it's basically, imagine your favorite YouTuber if they were a beautiful woman with large cans and a firm ass.
That's sick.
actually really like the shaker cup. That's what's up.
This is probably the biggest hustle Schlatt has ever done, and I don't really know the extent to which he owns Gamer Subs. I know that sounds weird to say, but I don't know how much he manages it or if he just invests in the company. I'm not really sure. And it's weird to realize until now, but the last couple years of Schlatt have actually been kind of consistent, kind of samey, but compared to the drastic change he was going year after year after year, this is finally something consistent. He's been doing these reaction videos for way longer than I thought he was doing them, and they're doing good for him. So you know what, little pat on the back there. I don't know why I'm patting my back. Schlatt's getting all the views. But just to get through this stuff real quick, I'll give my opinion on everything he has been doing in the last 2 years and little summaries, what I like, what I don't like, and what I'm indifferent about. Firstly, the reactions, the bread and butter. Like I said, they've attracted a new audience. I am not that audience. Alright, that's the section where I talk about the most successful part of his career so far. And if you want me to talk about it more, you can make your own 2-hour video essay about this man. I'm just kidding. I'll talk about it a little bit more. I just don't connect to anything he's doing here. I mean, I've watched some of these videos. They're entertaining enough. And I'm not trying to say this in a mean way, but you know, it's very easy to shut your brain off to these videos. Just very one after another. Once one video's done, you get another video, and it's already spoon-feeding a TikTok feed right into your face. So for that reason alone, I get it. I understand it. But, you know, at the same time, that's not what I come for Schlatt. I'm just here to observe how he's growing as a creator, and these videos don't really show any growth. So there's not much to talk about. And I mean, there's some recent jokes, there's some still in street signs, in between those videos are huge video projects, some even taking a year to make. And for some reason, I didn't write anything else in this script about that, but I'll get back to it. Secondly, Schlatt & Co., formerly Schlag, was introduced as a highlights channel, but for specifically clip compilations, not highlights. But this channel has evolved from the simple clip compilations and long-form highlights, and in case you're wondering, this is essentially his big guy channel, but slightly more optimized and not inactive. Honestly, this channel is basically his J Schlatt live channel. He posts live stream highlights here, he does gameplay videos, he does vlogs, he does everything on here instead now. As for new channels he made, there's Did Schlatt Win? Which for some reason was an entirely separate channel he made where he debated people on petty topics like cat versus dogs, short versus tall, invisibility versus flight. I don't know why this was a new channel. He only gave it about 8 videos before getting bored with it and throwing it in the ever-growing pile of channels he doesn't want to do anything with anymore. And he made a shorts channel that has been deleted off the face of the earth. Time to Smile. Basically, he just wanted to see if he could do a shorts channel, and he could, and he succeeded.
Maybe it's starting a wholesome shorts channel because I was bored, and then getting 300 million views in a month just because I could. Yeah, that was me. That was me.
He knows the algorithm like the back of his hand, and he could just make a channel that gets millions of views per month. He can will it into happening. And also, someone made an ARG about this channel that had no affiliation with Schlatt, but it was certainly something. There was a Discord server for this ARG. It's been deleted since, and when I asked former members about this whole thing, I asked them their favorite Time to Smile moments, which they simply stated there were no good moments in Time to Smile. So there you have it. And his most recent channel, Silver Panther, which he just made in a joking collaboration with Tommy in it, where they parody parasocial relationships and getting overly attached to people you don't know and losing trust in someone you had no reason to trust in the first place.
I love you. I love you so much. I think of us as friends. I love what we have, and I just want to hang out with you, and I want to get to know all of you so much. You're like my little kittens, really.
His friends are bigger than ever too. He's still doing streams, guesting on podcasts, being a busy little bee for your viewing pleasure. As for the weekly slap, it's still there. It's still not weekly. There were a couple streaks, but the fact it still exists makes me a satisfied man. And he's been doing more of the non-inbox videos, just talking about shit, and that's what I enjoyed the most anyways. Just a guy talking about life again, about his life, and that's what I enjoyed the most about weekly slap. I know the inbox got more views, but I'm way more interested in the condition of Schlatt. Also, he's still streaming, I think, and sometimes he streams DayZ just for himself, not for you. Also, he moved back to New York because Austin, Texas just, it sucks. You know what? He made his money in Austin and he got the experience he needed to mature, but now it's time to go back home and experience some comfort in my life that I've been missing dearly. And now we're here. Right here. What I've observed of Schlatt so far, 5 years of observing one person. I know I got a little lazy at the end, but I've been doing some other things in my own life, and I haven't been able to focus on Schlatt as much as I've wanted to, and I'm just... Within those last 5 years, he's only gotten bigger, and not just that, he's influencing an entire generation of YouTubers. And not in the weird surveillant way that I watch him, no, he's giving kids personalities. It's not just this one kid from that island across the sea now, no, people are coming up in their side
highlighting this guy specifically.
I've been doing this for so long that the people who grew up watching me have like grown up, gotten famous, and made their own fucking versions of the Weekly Slap. And I still feel like I'm pretty young. I'm 23, dude. Like and right now, seeing fucking Tommy Innit start his own Weekly Slap channel called Tom, and it's just him playing Minecraft and talking in the same fucking serious way that this is. I mean,
my videos were copied down to the T of other YouTubers I liked. ITMG, Schlatt, Carson, every single aspect of my videos were just shameless.
I started thinking about this idea of a legacy. It's a lot.
Video essays are being made about this guy. That ARG that had nothing to do with Schlatt was inspired by him. It came directly from him in a way. And there's another video where they talk about the generational thing. Motherfucker, I thought that was an original thought I had. Fuck. But the reason I haven't focused on Schlatt as much is just because I've been trying to make more of a name for myself. Making something for myself. By that, I mean this channel. Just trying to ignore as much of YouTube as possible so I can actually focus on making my own videos. And I already have this unhealthy combination of parasocial relationships, comparing myself, doing all these things with a guy that doesn't even know who I am. This whole thing wasn't some ploy to get this guy to know who I am, and no, I just think about him, and if I think about something, I gotta get it off my chest. That's the whole point of this channel. And you know what? It is strange. This guy has 4.4 million subscribers, and only one of them has made a video series where they talk about him for 2 hours? Wait, I'm not even subscribed to him. Oh shit. Yeah, I'm kind of singular in how I'm approaching a certain person, aren't I? I mean, like I said, other people have made video essays, but I don't think they've gone this in depth about him. But as someone who is an aspiring creator, I had an unhealthy attachment to the success story of Jay Schlatt. I really idolized the success story of Schlatt, this guy who spent 8 years grinding and grinding and grinding until one day something finally happened and sparks flew and the momentum just went exponential. I had that excitement of the exponential momentum of a channel. And yeah, in this past year, comparison to the growth of my old channel, it has been exponential, but for some reason I'm still thinking about him. Quite frankly, a past version of me wanted to make a tribute to Bloons Tower Defense. I wasn't going to call that specifically, I was going to be a little unique, but the idea was there. But to me, making a tribute video to a game a lot of people grew up with was a ticket. Even though it was a video game I grew up with, it was still something that I saw more artificially. That was the ticket to the viral video that was going to make my channel grow, and the rest was history. And you know what? To this day, the script I made for that video is really good, and I'm convinced that it could have, gotten some views. Maybe it still could get some views. Maybe I could still make it. Maybe the video won't corrupt this time. I mean, I still technically could have done it, but at the end of the day, Jay Schlatt already did it. So everything was set in place. I had done multiple voiceovers for the script too. All it came down to was just recording that stupid gameplay. I just had to record some more gameplay, but like I mentioned, every single time the gameplay in one way or another would just bye-bye. And all I had to do was just open up the game again and record another 2 hours of gameplay. And I'm done. And I'm done. But I just couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to do it. And if you can't record yourself to bring up a game you enjoy playing, the issue clearly lies somewhere else. I literally sat at the screen of that game and I just couldn't do anything. I didn't understand why either. Mind you, I was sitting at this screen 100% convinced that this was my gateway to not just becoming a YouTuber, but making YouTube a tangible job like I always desired. But the video never got made. And I would just go back to those weekly slap episodes where he talked about YouTube and finding meaning on the platform while gradually inching closer and closer to that moment where he could finally do it. Do what he always wanted. And I would internalize this feeling. I could just taste it. I knew I could do it too. The most visible example of this is a video he made called The Busiest Part of My Life.
I feel like I should give you some backstory first. I have my main channel, Jay Schlatt. And that's a channel where I post narrative comedy videos, introspective reflections on games, the kind of stuff that takes a while to make. A lot of planning and a lot of execution. I also have a third channel, I guess you could call it, that is rapidly, mind-bogglingly quickly becoming more popular than anything I've ever done before. It's Jay Schlatt Live. In 2 months, it's got almost 100,000 subscribers. And I love it, and I love working on it, and the videos do amazingly every time, and I want that to continue.
Schlatt thinks about it too, albeit from a different, more tiresome perspective in a video called Retirement.
And in this video, I basically just talk about all the success I've been having recently. The live stream was popping off. I had just started this brand new channel. You might have heard of it, Jay Schlatt Live. and that was starting to get some views. Why am I bringing this up? Because I'm in my mid-20s now, and I don't think I could conjure that enthusiasm today if I fucking tried. It was the wanton abandon of a 19-year-old kid who was an inch away from his dreams. And you know what? He fucking did it.
Needless to say, the hunger of actually wanting to be a YouTuber is all but gone and replaced with this feeling of uncertainty of what to do other than YouTube.
Because I look around my house, which is just a graveyard of failed hobbies, and I genuinely don't know what else I'd be doing.
The video ultimately ends with an optimism, I think, but the growth spurt he seemed to experience as a creator has seemed to stunt, and also his voice has changed a lot too from the last 5 years. Holy shit. Nowadays for Schlatt, there's less incentive to become better as a creator like you heard on those old Weekly Slap videos, but at the same time, I mean, was that even the point of the channel? Now, the biggest fallacy of the Weekly Slap was that this channel was created after a tribute to Minecraft. He had already created the catalyst to his success in the future. But I was idealizing a time before that catalyst. This channel was someone who was already comfortable in front of a camera, who had spent years and years and years talking into a microphone, and also he was writing these scripts anyways so he wouldn't look dumb. You want to know what the Weekly Slap sounds like to someone who hasn't put in the work that Schlatt has? There's 4-hour videos about fucking YouTubers, and I don't know how they do it. What do they talk about? Am I too blunt? Maybe I'm too blunt. Mind you, the person who could barely form a coherent sentence in those videos only had a year of age difference between Schlatt when he made a tribute to Minecraft. Did a fly just fly across my screen? It's really easy to forget that Schlatt got popular at a really young age. He's the exception, not the standard that I put myself up to. I'm pretty sure the second youngest person in OTK was like 5 years older than him. I'm closer to his age than he is to Ludwig's age. I mean, this guy is so young. I'm part of Schlatt's generation. I'm part of the first generation that grew up watching YouTube. I watched Smosh, Tomska, H3H3, maybe even Alan Resnick. I like to think my best friend on YouTube watches Alan Resnick. We're best friends. But the things he watched growing up, I also watched growing up, except I still watch Schlatt. He was my projection of a creator who had done what I had always wanted to do. Be the guy who got the big break, was voicing my generation, and seeing him practice his bits, constantly inspiring to improve as a creator and embody the desire to be entertaining. That is what I loved most about Schlatt, but it was because it was something I wanted to do. But yeah, this guy was doing it. He was fulfilling these voids we both missed on YouTube. He got Trevor from Couchop as an editor, and I would do that in a heartbeat if I had the money. He would attempt to bring back parts of his childhood and reconnect to it. That is what we're shaped by, and is what we want to see on YouTube. And I was watching him do this on YouTube. So seeing him slow down doing the reactions, well, I say he's slowing down, but he's busier than ever. But a lot of the inspiration is behind the scenes now, and there's a lot more doubt than there used to be. You know, sometimes it's a blessing that I don't see Schlatt doing what I want to do, because for this past year, I've been starved of the fact there's Schlatt had that didn't exist in other YouTubers. When Schlatt says he's replaceable, I completely understand. Surely there's someone out there putting in the same amount of time that he put into YouTube, but maybe they'll have a Red Sox cap instead. Maybe they'll wear the checkered fedora even. In fact, I hope Schlatt keeps justifying his reaction videos. Yeah, they are better than the other reaction videos on YouTube. Your lowest bar of content is in fact higher than their status quo. Keep doing that. Stop fulfilling my dreams. Which brings me to the greatest weakness I have towards Schlatt in the modern era, is when he actually does make the videos he wants to make. He has these vlogs, and yeah, they get a fraction of the views that everything else gets, but I fucking love them. I actually can't get enough of these. If they were uploaded daily, I would watch them every single day. They're that good. I would make time out of my day to watch these videos. They're great. I literally cannot watch these videos for too long because Schlatt's fulfillment as a creator is my greatest weakness. Part of the thing that makes me so obsessed with him is that he actually comes off as a person creating videos and is making conscious efforts to decide how he wants to steer the ship that is J Schlatt. And there might be this idea brewing that when Schlatt uploads one of his more passionate projects, I'm glad that it fails, but I'm not. But I do need him to keep uploading those reaction videos because it means I will give less of a shit about him. Isn't that what he always wanted? And in 2022, Schlatt appeared on another episode of The Create Unknown, but this time it got less than 10,000 views. I'm serious, this podcast has been seen by no one. I'm pretty sure it's one of the least viewed pieces of Schlatt content out there, but in this podcast specifically, he talks about the overwhelming amount of people that are like me.
People are always working at it regardless, you know, and there's so many of them that will put in a shit ton of effort and not see any results from it anyways. I tell people to quit. That's what I do when they ask me now. I used to try and give them a whole bunch of motivational speech, and now I just tell them, no, I mean, the odds are stacked against you, and you probably won't make anything happen ever. And then, like if that pisses you off, just prove me wrong.
Oh, well, I have 20,000 subscribers. I got pretty far so far, but you know how many channels have over 10,000 subscribers if you Google the answer? 2.9 million. And by the way, that result was in July 2nd of 2023, so it's not 2.9 million anymore, it's way more. So the odds are against your favor, and day by day the cesspool of attention is constantly being sucked up on YouTube. That doesn't even count TikTok and other social media platforms, so what's his advice towards all of that? Just give up. I think that answer speaks to a larger part of his fan base, or at least how he feels about his fan base. Throughout the years, as more and more people get to know you as schlatt, the number goes up, and you as a follower at schlatt become more and more insignificant to him. His inbox is full. He's not your friend. He doesn't know you. He makes it abundantly clear, and it's something he's incorporated into his persona because although he does play a character, the suspension of disbelief can only be so suspended.
A lot of people have been coming up to me saying, oh, Schlatt, you should get up there. You're tall, you're a big guy. Get up there when you're a fan of Cybertruck. I don't like my audience enough to do anything for you.
And you gotta put certain aspects of yourself in there that you think would benefit what your audience perceives you as. So if a fan comes up to Schlatt and says, hey, do you have any advice for me when I'm starting my channel up? There are a million reasons to do YouTube, and 999,000 of those reasons won't get you anywhere. And if you do find something, good luck trying to sustain for more than 3 years. You want to get into a niche? Good luck doing Minecraft forever. You want to do something that isn't YouTube after a while? Why are you even bothering being on YouTube then? And I never really talked about schlatt's Radiohead series as much as I wanted to. It was a series he planned on doing about the album OK Computer, which he self-proclaims as his favorite album ever made. His analysis of each song never really extends beyond the actual length of the song itself. Most of the time it's shorter than the actual song. But if you really want to get into it yourself, I do think the general themes of OK Computer are pretty comparable to Schlatt's career as a YouTuber. I thought about doing this whole thing where I connect the whole album to his career. Exit music for a film would be him leaving his schlatt channel for the live channel. Karma police would be the idea of karmic righteousness on people that offend you, like stan culture, so on and so forth. I thought it would have been pretty fucking good, but I had already written this whole video already, and I would have had to shove it in there, and it just wouldn't have worked out. And you know what? If I played the songs in the background anyways, there's this whole DMCA thing going around, is it really worth it? Will not cry in public, but that word, YouTuber. If you brought it up to my freshly squeezed out fetus 21 years ago, you probably would have been kicked out of the hospital, but also they would have been asking, what the fuck is a YouTuber? But to put it as simply as possible, it's the most accessible form to entertain millions. It has a negative connotation compared to being a filmmaker or even a musician, which trust me, there are a lot of these guys that try to escape that hole. But I'm not worried about being a filmmaker, I'm worried about being a YouTuber. Even though I technically am one, it's a matter of sustainability. We have lived through over a century of cinema, nearly the same with television. We have people ingrained into sidewalks, put in Hall of Fames, but most importantly, people who died as actors, directors, cinematographers, excluding all the accidental deaths, sorry stunt actors. It's proven that you can live out your life doing film. But YouTube? You can certainly retire if you have the money, but it's far too unpredictable and unstable to give a clear answer as to why you want to do this. In fact, giving up is some of the more rational advice you can take. So what does Schlatt want out of YouTube? It's not up to me to answer, but if I can be arrogant, I think the goal is to maximize the most amount of entertainment he can provide to people. And on the other side of the coin, this is his life, so it only makes sense to put your life onto here. Whether it be podcasts, Call of Duty commentary, maybe a leaked phone call, who knows? You're constantly ping-ponging this idea about fulfillment and that you can only have one or the other with these things, resulting in these constantly fluctuating formula of views, energy, happiness, blah blah blah. This is a documented fallacy among Schlatt. Multiple video essays have talked about this, and many of them have come to the conclusion that Schlatt is sometimes a character, but sometimes he's not, and that's when he's the real deal. I have a similar contradiction towards my attitude directed at Schlatt. I consider myself a non-fan, but look at me, I'm making a big old video essay. I constantly think about the line between his real-life identity and the character that he has quite literally grown into. The fact that we probably know his first name but just aren't willing to believe a solid answer. I watch him the same way you watch someone from high school you haven't really gotten out of your mind yet. You're not stalking them, but every once once in a while, you need to see what they're doing. Unsure as to why, but who knows, maybe you need to feed into your irrationality sometimes. Based on Schlatt's cynical logic, it seems like anything you're passionate about gets screwed over by YouTube. About that. There's never really a full wrapping around these factors of Schlatt. He either makes reaction videos that a lot of people watch but the hardcore fans despise, including himself, but at the same time when he does something passionate it doesn't get as many views. But these two seemingly contradictory things aren't as contradictory as you might think sometimes. He can prove that you can be a genuine personality while still appeasing to the algorithm. In fact, that's what got him his first success in the first place. If you look at the weekly slap thumbnails, you can see his thumbnails go from stills of the game to gradually becoming more and more formatted, saturated colors, same shot, look up towards the sky. If this is the most authentic form of himself, then why is it being optimized? It doesn't pull the same numbers as his most popular stuff, but you know what the most popular stuff has in the thumbnail? His fucking face. Because it's still Schlatt. He still puts himself in the thumbnails to let you know it's him. People click on the videos because of him. But if people watch these videos because of Schlatt, then why do some Schlatt videos get more views than others? I do want to talk about these passion project videos though, because they do seem more inspired. They are more inspired. What am I talking about? But it seems like Schlatt just doesn't know how to format them. I don't know, sometimes it feels a little too obvious, almost like he's sabotaging his video, which I doubt he's doing, but it feels like it. If I could be a backseat YouTuber for a second, I do want to talk about the thumbnails that have a more confusing aura to them. For example, his most recent video, the one he uploaded. It's a great video of him trying all the New York style pizzas in Japan and then rating his favorite one. So that's what the video is about, and I forgot to screenshot the first version of this thumbnail when it was uploaded. So in the first version of the thumbnail, he mentioned absolutely nothing about Japan in the thumbnail. It was about trying New York style pizza. And I guess Japan could be implied in the thumbnail if you looked at the sushi pizza, which looks like an AI generated image if you know nothing about the video. I forgot the actual title, but I'm pretty sure it was something like which New York style pizza is the best. Again, nothing about Japan style New York style pizza, it was specifically New York style pizza. Or what about his 10 of 10 classic, and by that I mean his lowest performing, Never Let Me Behind the Wheel. Again, if I didn't tell you anything about the thumbnail, I guess you could assume it was about driving, but would you know it was a drifting competition against other YouTubers again in Japan? I guess there's a mountain. I mean, this thumbnail lets me know nothing about what this video is about other than that it's about driving. And in comparison to the reaction videos, those tell you exactly what the video is about. In fact, the thumbnail basically just looks like the video, which is probably a huge benefactor in why people, you know, actually watch those. But tunnel vision is a very real thing, and when you spend way more time, 10 times, 20 times the amount of effort you need to put into these videos compared to his other stuff, it's a lot more fogging in the brain to think about how these things could be formatted for the widest amount of appeal. Because ultimately, you want people to watch what you do, especially if it means a lot to you. I do think these videos have the chance to go viral if the cards are played just right, but it takes so much effort for these to be successful compared to just ranking your disgusting bedrooms.
You know what's crazy? People complain about the React videos, but it's the only thing they watch. Why are you watching it? I'll just keep doing the React. I gotta read the room.
And I started thinking about, you know, like, what would I do if I could do this job forever? And would I do it forever? Obviously, yes. I think I will be doing this in some capacity forever. I mean, this is my fucking dream, right? This is everything I've ever wanted since elementary school, when I was watching all these people. You know, I want everybody who watches to be here solely because of the content. And that's part of the reason why I enjoy putting on this bombastic character I do, because it's fun. It's entertainment. And that's all it is.
When you think of a legacy, you think of, you know, something people will remember you for the rest of time. Like, what is your mark that you leave on the world?
The ever revolving door of bullshit will open, and out pops another dude with a New York hat and a funny accent, right? And he's gonna do the job. He will be the new funny man. The odds are stacked against you, and you probably won't make anything happen ever. And then, you know, like, if that pisses you off, just prove me wrong.
What does it all mean? Why are there so many contradictions with this one guy? I guess technically, yeah, the reactions aren't as entertaining to me, so I would watch something else, but that's also the most successful thing he's doing. This isn't his format for failure, basically. This is someone who at one point accepted the fact that YouTube would never become a full-time thing for him, that he would just fade into obscurity one day, but that was clearly from a person in a different time, a lot more bitter, even more cynical than he is now, actually. He still accepts the fate of the YouTube algorithm preventing him from achieving his true passion, but he's getting the pay
paycheck now. He's getting a lot of paycheck, as a matter of fact. And I do want to give an apology to all the Chuckle Sandwich and sleep-deprived viewers. I think I came from the wrong place there, a place of ignorance. And in my last video, I said sleep-deprived sucks, and I mean, my opinion hasn't changed in a week, but I did receive feedback where I got people who are sleep-deprived fans, but they're not necessarily Schlatt fans. They obviously are aware of Schlatt, but they only watch sleep-deprived. And then I got another comment here saying, oh, well, I only watch Chuckle Sandwich. I don't know anything else about Schlatt. Because there is a point there to be made that these are authentic versions of Schlatt, but it goes into my parasocial attachment to Schlatt. These are code switches that I'm not very fond of. They're still parts of Schlatt. You can't just do a full podcast with a character. Some authenticity does come out. You know, some of these highlight clips that I watched, they're pretty entertaining to me, but I just can't sit down and watch the whole thing, and that's okay. The same thing goes for Sleep Deprived. This is a completely different friend group, and you kind of act different towards certain friends. You know, it's a thing that people do. It's a thing that I do. And even if I don't prefer that, I understand why people do like these candid aspects of Schlatt that are a bit more social at the same time. With Chuckle Sandwich, you're hearing him conversate more, giving an interaction to people. You know, it's an in-depth discussion, kind of. You learn more about him in this podcast than you would in his videos, basically. And with Sleep Deprived, it's just a couple of folks playing video games together, and that's what's fun about it for the people that do watch it. The truth is that I care about Schlatt on YouTube. I don't care what he's doing in real life. I don't know what kind of pussy he's eating right now, but I do care about what he's doing on YouTube. Trying to make videos like him, when in reality, I'm just trying to be my own thing. There's something I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength. To J Schlatt. I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but I think we need some time apart. Firstly, I just want to say it's not your fault. You've been a great representation of the YouTube dream and what you can accomplish on here. And as much as you worry about being replaced, I can assure you it won't happen as long as you keep going at it. But you have been replaced. By yourself. You're a new version of you that you weren't before 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago. And that's when someone like me comes in to fulfill these gaps that I liked about you, but you're holding me back. As the years go on, I notice we are different after all. You didn't abuse my trust, you didn't hurt me, but I'm a late bloomer compared to you. 21 as a YouTuber is older than I want to admit. Maybe being 21 isn't the late bloomer mentality I should have. It's not a race after all, but I gotta start somewhere, and I think it starts now. Because remember, all of this can be taken away, even when there are no subscribers to lose. If you're not making videos, then you're just not a YouTuber, pal. That's how it works. And if you're not a YouTuber, then there's nothing to dream about. So I have to cut ties, do my own thing, only slightly rip you off instead. But this is where I say goodbye. You're not my friend, I don't know you, and it's better off if you just treat me like someone who appears on a screen every once in a while, and once I'm off the screen, you stop thinking about me, Schlatt. But really, I'm selfish. After that screen is off, I want the prestige to be analyzed and recognized for any semblance of talent or skill I might possess. It's a great feeling. I love the wow factor. We both love Terminator 2. I actually cannot get enough of that movie, but when that movie ends, I'm still thinking about it. All the scenes with the T-1000 or Arnold windmilling the shotgun in order to reload it while on a Harley, that's where my love of entertainment comes from. Not this moment of watching the movie, but after you watch it, when you have to think about it. A memory that lasts longer than a runtime. And as long as there is consciousness in the world, you have the potential to live forever. I want more things that I can absorb myself into, and that's the thing. You're taking up way too much of that. But I'll do you one better. Maybe I'll try my own version of Inbox. Not your Inbox. Fuck that. I'm talking about Machinima Inbox. Maybe I'll even do a deep cut and bring back those Nerf War videos that people used to do all the time. Don't worry. I'll still think about you from time to time, but I think this is the moment where we have to embrace our differences. And that's J Schlatt for you. The man, the channel, whatever he is, that's it. That's all I have to say. I'm done. I'm done talking about him. And I'm serious. This is all I have to say. There's nothing more, nothing less. Trust me, there's nothing less. And, well, now that I'm done talking about him, I have something I need to catch up on.